J. Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
He missed it. He missed it. He missed it. I hear the stadium. He missed it. Okay, do you hear that? Do y'all hear that?
I do hear that.
Did you guys hear the stadium from my apartment? He missed it.
I
Jake
do hear
Moody
that.
missed it.
You guys.
Gee, don't tell me you took the Browns. Don't tell me you took the Browns.
It's the ultimate Kool-Aid intoxication if he does.
Hey, listen.
We got to pump your stomach if you took the Browns.
You guys been drinking NyQuil. You're sleepy. Headline reads, Fool's Gold Rush.
Oh, no, you did not.
Drunk on Kool-Aid. Walker minds the Niners, and guess what I had just to back up? Listen, this is one for a punt return, Kool-Aid. This is one for a pick six, Kool-Aid. This is P.J. Walker getting that dub, Kool-Aid, baby. Let's get it done.
2 days later. They got to show up on Sunday just like we do.
Yes! Let's go! You suckers, get up out of here! Yes! I'm chasing. Hold on.
They did it! Bro, they did it!
Let's go! I told you on Friday, the Kool-Aid Mafia is back. Everybody picked against them. I picked on national TV. Let's go! Yeah.
That was great. That was great. It would have been more special if he meant it when he picked them, but he did nonetheless.
Let me tell you something. Bull's been trying to take a dump on G. Bush's pick since the second the Browns won.
This is a beautiful thing. The Browns won.
No one were wrong.
Jay, Earl, and
we
G
were wrong.
said the team was done last week.
We were wrong.
And G gets no credit. No credit, but the Browns won. No credit.
Now that he's done, G. Bush, we are not worthy. We are not worthy.
I will say, 96 hours ago, both of you said this was a punt game. Both of you said it was a punt game.
However,
him too.
Listen, if you want, you can cherry pick things that all of us said during the week that makes it seem like we're done.
But he
No, we never said it. We never said they were done.
You were just as despondent.
Never.
Now listen, there's one thing that we said last week that matters. One thing. You got it wrong. You got it wrong. I got it wrong. Mike got it wrong. All the experts got it wrong. Mr. Kool-Aid, take your victory lap.
Listen, I just want to let you guys know why we have thousands in the chat. I wore every chain that I got. You see them out here? Every one chain I got.
Mr. T Starter Kit.
Mr. T Starter Kit. By the way, people ask for it. Do you know how much faith you got to have in the Cleveland Browns to go to your distributor and tell them, listen, print those alternate Cleveland Browns Kool-Aid Mafia orange shirts up. Print them up. He says, G. Bush, I'm sorry, man. You're not moving units. Why would you move? Why would you switch it up to the orange and the Browns don't even have Deshaun Watson playing? I said, don't worry about it. The Kool-Aid Mafia will come and support. And guess what I did? I said, go ahead and give me an order of thousands of these. I had it sitting out like it was the first day of Christmas. I said, all I need is to win. I told my mother, my agent, who's my lawyer, and who's my stylist, I said, all I need is one or two solid people with me, and we can get this victory. Myles Garrett called me, he said, I got it done, big fella. Don't send me one of the Kool-Aid shirts because I'm not going to wear it on TV, but I got you, big dog. And guess what happened? We came out there and we got it. We heard all last week Brock Purdy was going to the NFL. We heard, Brock Purdy was going all the way. We
heard he was better than Josh Allen.
All the way to the doggone. He got his gold jacket last week here on UCSS, and the Cleveland Browns defense showed up and showed out, and this is going to be a great day.
Yesterday was a perfect example. With the Browns winning, with the Jets beating the Eagles, with the Giants playing a great game but losing to the Bills.
Damn near beat the Bills.
Is why you can't lose your mind every week. You can lose your mind in excitement for the Browns winning, but you can't turn every week into what the team is. It's a week-to-week league, and this week, more than any other this year, showed you that. That was a great win. And I know they played, it was sloppy, it was ugly, the offense didn't do
They easily could have lost. I'm not going to say should have.
Easily could have lost.
Could have lost that
That's
game.
why saying the shoulda, woulda game is stupid.
Stupid, dumb.
Dumb.
Means nothing.
They won the game And that's all that matters. And that's it. They played a great game considering the circumstances.
Jay,
it was
your
a great
opening
win.
salvo?
Well, the thing that aggravated me was people were saying, well, the Niners lost Debo
I don't want to hear it.
Samuel.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
they had injuries. I'm like, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Browns quarterback was elevated from the practice squad the day before.
Our best lineman.
No Nick Chubb. No Joel Bitonio. So you can miss me with the Niners had injuries and the phantom call that went the Browns' way and against the Niners. There was a bunch of calls in that game that were a little skittish, both sides. The officials corrected some of them. Some of them were head scratchers. Whatever, man. A lot of these calls are just split second.
Yeah.
They're judgment decisions. The Browns earned this. They earned every bit of it. This defense is for real. We're going to get into it. Some of the numbers they're putting up are numbers that are not allowed. They're not possible in this game, the way that the game's played today, with the way the teams throw the ball over the field. This defense is for real. I saw Tyvus put the clip in there of Dante Whitner poo-pooing the Browns. Cleveland guy, Dante Whitner.
I know.
Yeah, he
Poo-pooing
clearly
the
has
Browns
not
before
watched
the
them
game.
play.
No, well, he was
had
going off the number sheet.
Yeah, he had not watched
But
them
guess
play.
why those numbers are that bad? Because they played the Browns and were early in the season.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's why their numbers were as bad as they were.
And yes, the injuries, of course, played a factor. So what? As I talk about all the time, injuries are always a factor.
That's
and
right.
you can't whine about the officials. Our fans do it. Our fans were whining in the first half. Their fans were whining in the second half. I don't want to hear it. There's bad calls in every game.
Yep.
Tough toenails. It
was.
doesn't matter. And if Shanahan's such a genius, then the injuries shouldn't have mattered. He went away from the run when Purdy was clearly struggling. He made a mistake, and you don't get off the hook. Yeah, I mean, if I'm a Niner fan, I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. The Niners are still the best team in football, despite the way they played yesterday. But yesterday, the Browns beat them, and that's all that matters, and no excuses matter.
No, that's it. Yeah, I don't want to hear about the injuries either. I mean, they did have both of those players for part of that game. The Browns were without three vital cogs to their machine for the entire game.
Yep. And the quarterback. It was the quarterback.
Yeah.
What's stunning to me about we always talk about turnovers and how you can't win with turnovers. You just can't do it.
I said this yesterday. Yeah.
His touchdown to turnover line right now is 5 touchdowns to 17 turnovers.
Wow.
Yet he's 5-3 as a starting quarterback.
Well, that's why the records are meaningless. You
I
can't
mean,
look into the records.
Well, what it tells me is
He's beating Tom Brady.
he's not. Is he the answer?
No.
But to the point that you need a superstar quarterback in this league, yes, I believe you do. However, I also believe that an elite defense trumps a great quarterback. And this defense, although we had questions crop up after the Ravens loss, they answered all of those questions and more yesterday. What I loved more than anything about the win, and we talk about this all the time, where are the dogs? Where are the dogs? There's no attitude. Yesterday, from before the kickoff inside that stadium, there was attitude. Where does that attitude come from? That's easy. Jim Schwartz.
Yeah.
He instills dog in that defense. I loved the skirmish before the game. I loved it. It showed me that the Browns were making a statement before the opening kickoff. We're not going to be pushed around in our building. You're in for a 60-minute war. And that's what they put up. Yeah. And now, yes, they should have had the Pittsburgh game. The amazing thing about the NFL, you always say week to week. The other thing is, over 17 games, the gods usually disperse an equal number of cards. Yes, they should have won the Steelers game. Yesterday, easily could have been a loss.
Should have and could have don't matter.
No,
there's no such thing as football gods. Let's go.
Wash out.
It's football. They went out, kicked some ass.
At 3-2 now, they're in an interesting position. I don't think I can remember a time if the Chargers win tonight, and that's a big if because they play a good football team that needs a bounce-back win. Even if they lose, think of this, guys. 12 of the 16 teams in the AFC have 3 wins. At least 3 wins.
Well, the AFC North is the only division where all 4 teams are 500 or better.
However, only 3 teams in the AFC, if the Chargers win tonight, it's 2 teams. No, it's 3 if they win. Don't have 3 wins yet. That's astonishing to me. I mean, what that says is you damn well better win this division.
That's right.
Because the hunt for a wild card in the AFC is going to be as muddied as it's ever been if it continues to play out like this. 2
people I want to say big shout out to. One of them, I tell people I'm married to the film work. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to, crap on you guys too much. I just tell it like it is. But Kevin Stefanski, let me shake your hand. There's your
Virtual shake.
There's your signature win. That is a signature win by Kevin Stefanski. I don't want to hear nobody say, well, he has some plays here or there.
Ridiculous.
No coach is going to pitch a no-hitter every game. There were some play calls that I complained about on Twitter, but I love the fact that you got a signature win. The ball fell the right way. Shout out to you. Jed Wills. Jed Wills, you were downfield on a little screen pass. I was salty at you then, but for the most part, solid game. Solid game. I saw you in them staying on your blocks. I saw you. I spot shadowed you. You weren't giving up crazy pressures. I thought you played a decent game, and this is the great thing about football. Just because I correct you a couple of games does not mean I don't want you to win. Salute to you. I like what you did there, son.
Big win.
Bosa had 2 impact plays in that game. He had the knockdown pass early,
Yeah.
and the sack late that seemed really big in the moment. But other than that, the offensive line held up really well. And,
They did a great job.
Teller had a key hold that brought back a touchdown. I mean, think about that.
That was that
was questionable.
Sometimes
that was questionable.
Sometimes that was a hold.
It was a hold, but I've seen worse that wasn't.
Yeah, but that was a hold. You can't complain about that. What sucks about that is sometimes you'll say, well, if it wasn't for that holding penalty, we would have had a touchdown. But you can argue
you wouldn't have had a touchdown if it weren't for the hold.
Right. If that wasn't the case in this one.
No, it had nothing to do with the outcome.
It was beyond the play.
They lost 6.
Well, we got to get to the defense because they won this game.
Yeah, we got to get to a lot of things.
Yeah.
First, Mikey McNuggets has some business to take care of. Mikey, our first hello to you this morning.
What is up, guys? We got a couple things, and I'll toss it right back to you. But first and foremost, if you guys did not tune in, you saw a little clip of it in the cold open. But the post-game show, once again, the people came out in troves. Once again, the #1 most viewed post-game show in the entire city. So shout out to you guys for tuning in.
What is that up to?
In the 40s now. So
40,000.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
More people that can sit inside Progressive Field.
Exactly. It's a cool thing. We appreciate y'all. Yesterday was a special moment because we had drama live, and then you could obviously see G's reaction. Where I live, I can hear the stadium from my apartment. So 50 seconds before they showed it on TV, I hear Brown Stadium erupt. And I'm like, holy, you know what? He just missed it. And I hear it, and I hear people outside yelling, and they're like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I got to see it. I'm like, I'm telling y'all, I hear it. So that was cool. So appreciate y'all checking in, tuning out. If you want live reaction, it's on our YouTube page. Also, outside of the Blue Raspberry Kool-Aid, which Superfan Miss Nuggets chose for us today, we have some mimosas out there. And there's a reason for mimosas and an extra bottle of champagne. On Saturday night, I said if the Browns beat the Niners, I would chug a bottle of champagne on the show. Well, Tegna was like, chugging, maybe not. So what we did is we poured mimosas. And I also don't always listen to the rules. So, guys, raise a glass.
We start the show with a toast.
And I'm going to finish whatever we got left in this bottle, or I'm at least try to.
To 3 and 2,
shout out
guys.
to the Browns, shout out to 3 and 2, and shout out to everyone
and
out
to
there.
G. Bush.
Yeah.
What
and
a
G.
pick.
Bush.
The Kool-Aid Mafia, we did it. We did it, people. Oh, this is good.
It's tasty.
This ain't bad.
Who made those?
Anthony.
Perfect mix.
Good job, Anthony.
Well done, Ant.
Use the old bartender skills.
Were you a bartender once upon a time?
In Little Italy, Tavern of Little Italy.
Oh, no kidding.
He
Wow.
looked
Look at him go. Look at Mikey go.
Mikey, I'm
I thought
impressed.
you weren't supposed to chug.
I don't listen to the rules.
Suits are going to get on you, Mike.
I got to
How did
burn
Sound like
you
you're going to grow up like this.
Listen, how did the suits know that he didn't dump that out and put water in it
That's
before
true.
the show?
That's
I mean,
exactly
I
what
saw him
happened.
do
Burb's
it.
gone. I'm good. That was
Okay, very good.
Jay Crawford is
When he's passed out in 28 minutes,
Jay
we'll know it
Crawford is
wasn't
an HR
water.
nightmare.
Guys,
How do you know that?
Guys, you know what's amazing about the performance by the defense in this game?
What?
Is that the first drive, the Niners went right down the field and scored.
And that was
And
it.
you're like, oh boy,
Yeah.
it's going to be one of those days. And from there on out, the Niners really didn't move the ball at all.
Not only
All
that,
10 points came off turnovers
then,
in short fields.
then Fred Warner with the pick, and they got a short field, 7-0. Then
Right.
you really look bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that was crazy. I was like, at that point in time,
And that was a terrible throw.
I was like, we ain't drinking nothing today. That's about to get ugly.
Yeah,
out here.
I thought so too. I really did. Now, the funny thing is, you mentioned the opening drive, 7-0. We talked earlier in the week about how Kyle Shanahan, that's what they do. They've done that all season long. Now, in 6 opening drives, they've scored 38 points.
Great.
I mean, you could get 42 if you scored a touchdown in all 6 opening drives. When he's scripted and they're going along and the key was they stayed on schedule. And they were easy, they were easier third downs to pick up on. I thought we were done at that point.
I actually had not even started watching the game yet. I had it like paused.
Yeah.
Because I just had to do something really quick. And by the time I got there, I saw an alert that the Niners had scored
Don't you
before I
hate
started
that?
the game.
Don't you hate that the worst?
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
I was trying to save myself. He like, dang, 7-0 already?
I know. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I know.
boy.
It's like it defeats the whole purpose
Yeah.
of the day. 13-8 now. I couldn't believe this. The Browns are 13-8 all time against San Francisco. This is one of the best franchises in the history of the league.
Yeah.
They're 8-2 in home games against San Francisco.
Man.
I mean, some things you just scratch your head. One thing that was wild from yesterday was the Jets had never beaten the Eagles.
Right.
Never.
And they were down 14-3 in their game.
It looked like
thought they were gonna get smoked.
That game really mirrored, in a lot of ways, the Browns and the Niners. You had an
100%.
undefeated team. You had a
100%.
big underdog that came out at home and won the game.
I think anybody questioning the Browns defense going into this game was probably people that were not watching them play. I don't believe Dante Whitner had watched the Browns play. I believe that. I don't think he had ever watched them play before he saw those statements. Or maybe he saw the Ravens game last week only, where they played their worst game defensively.
But that's the only time you saw them play. I can understand
Yeah.
why you think they weren't that good.
But that performance, and again, it's fair to acknowledge that the Niners had injuries within the game.
No.
And that the weather was bad. It's fair to acknowledge it.
No, they came in healthy, and we put that smackdown on them. When you put them pads on people, yes, sir.
Don't have to.
Yes, sir.
We don't have to pretend things that happened that didn't happen. Those injuries were part of the game, but that's not an excuse for the way the Niners played. They had Brock Purdy, and he was awful. The Browns made him look awful. The weather factored in, no doubt, but he looked awful in that game. He played. Listen, P.J. Walker is not an NFL quarterback. No. He has no business starting an NFL game.
But he outplayed Brock Purdy.
And he played better than Brock. He didn't play well, but he played better than Brock Purdy did.
Neither guy played well,
No.
but the thing of it was, what was weird, sometimes we always say it matters what you do in the fourth quarter. I thought that Purdy did enough to get them the
On that
win.
final drive.
That last drive, it was the first time
He woke
looked
up.
comfortable.
He woke
the
up.
First
So-
drive and the last drive were
That was
the
it.
only times
that
he
was
looked
it. But
comfortable.
watching him operate in that last drive, I thought he's going to be good. The only time it matters in the game, he's going to be good. And their kicker, a Michigan product. Did I say he's a Michigan
Who had not
product?
missed before yesterday.
I had not missed. And boy, did you see the pictures of him in the stadium with all of his family members that were there to watch him?
This all goes into it, Jay.
Wow.
The fact that you play on the lakeshore is a reason people be missing. I'm not going to give you no excuse to talk about the weather. It is what it is. You come to Cleveland.
We had to kick in it.
That's
too.
that's part of what we do up here.
Yeah.
So that was part of the win. We talk about, look, we need to make it nasty and ugly. I love what Kevin Stefanski said at halftime. Laughing and joking about how nasty we're dragging them right down in the mud.
Yeah, that was a good line.
I love that one.
Two guys, to me, that deserve a lot of credit. We haven't talked about either of these guys a lot this year. One, if you look at the box score of this game and you go to defense and you look at Dalvin Tomlinson, you're not going to be impressed if you look at the box score. If you did not watch the game.
Right.
If you just look at the box score,
was the
Dalvin
factor,
Tomlinson says one tackle.
Yep.
There's no stats. He essentially had no stats. But if you watch that game, that's why you can't, the stats are almost irrelevant when it comes to defense. Because anybody watching that game, they called his name like 15 times. He kept disrupting the play for other guys to make plays. He was fantastic, and he's a fat guy. I love fat guys because I'm a fat guy. He's got the big fat guy head that barely fits in the helmet, and I love it. Number two, JOK was all over the place.
He was.
He
Game
was
of his life.
all
best
over.
game
He
he's
was a
played as a Brown.
monster. The Browns had eight sacks and tackles for a loss total on defense. 8 total. He had 4 of them. Four of the 8.
All over. He was. You know what? I remember when we had DeQuell in, and he was saying he's thinking and it's slowing down his process. He's playing now without a brain in his head. He's got one mission: get to the football. And his athleticism now, and that's the difference between a Jim Schwartz and a Joe Woods, Joe Woods was trying to put him into a bin. This is who you are, and this is what you do.
Right.
Jim Schwartz came and looked at him and said, "Oh, hell no. No, you just play football.
Yeah.
You just go find the football, and you're going to be just fine."
Yeah, Kevin called him a heat-seeking missile after the game.
That's what he looked like.
And we talked about before the year. If he's going to have success in the NFL, this is the system for him. The defensive line creates chaos up front. The linebackers clean it up. And he's allowed to play freely, move fast, chase the ball. And he had the best game of his life yesterday.
Guys, did you get this message?
No.
There is a message right here. It's been going off. I think my phone is on silent. There's an Amber Alert out for George Kittle. He got taken away in a Cadillac sedan. He's been missing since Friday night. And George, where was you at, big dog? I gladly took the L in fantasy because you got shut down. One catch, one target.
Especially with Debo and McCaffrey out for much of the game.
You were supposed to be eating.
You know what's interesting about Kittle, and I noticed this late in the first quarter, and I'm not saying this is why he wasn't a performer yesterday, but there was one play where Miles, late in the first quarter, instead of attacking and going after Trent Williams and trying to get to the quarterback, he turned and absolutely blew up George Kittle. Just blew him up at the line to where Kittle was like flying backwards. And I asked Miles after the game, like, why'd you do that? And he said, you hit him sometimes, you give him that pop early on, they're thinking about it the rest of the game. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that's why his numbers weren't what they were, but I noticed one play, Miles absolutely destroyed. And I said, like, were you just trying to get him off his route? Did you guys think he was the primary? You're trying to get him off his route. He's like, no, I just want to blow him up. And
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
And he blew him up. You'd have to go back. It was the play. Miles picked up the flag. The official was looking for his flag, and Miles had it in his hand. He handed it back to him. And then the very next play, he just destroyed Kittle on when Kittle was trying to get out on a route.
Things like that can have a big impact on the game. Again, you mentioned it doesn't show up in the box score, but it's all those little things that add up. I thought the defense yesterday, we talked about the 5 games, 1,002 yards allowed, just barely over 200 yards per game. The last time a team did that in the NFL was 1970, and it was a pretty good defense.
Different game back then.
Much different game, and that was a pretty good defense, too, that did that. So when you look at historically, we've tried to measure this team historically. It's really tough to do through 3 games, 4 games, and 5 games. However, they are historically elite through 5 games.
And it's worth noting, this schedule was front-loaded.
It was.
With really good teams.
Yeah.
They played the Niners. They played the Bengals. Now Burrow's on one leg, but I don't care. They played the Bengals, the Ravens. Like, they played some pretty good offenses and pretty good teams in there. And that makes those numbers even more impressive.
It does.
And even though the Titans don't have a great offense, Derrick Henry's a great back.
Absolutely.
And Derrick Henry in every other game this year has had a big game.
Yeah.
He's played well outside of the Browns game. That's the Browns defense. Listen, they got to do it for a lot longer before we call them historic on a season. But here's what's the most important thing, and the only thing that matters right now. Through 5 games, the Browns have the best defense in the NFL.
There it is.
That's it. End of conversation. Doesn't mean that they got to keep it up for the whole year, but through 5 games, the Browns have the best defense in the NFL, period. End of conversation.
Not close. It is not close.
They're almost dead last in takeaways because we got one yesterday.
Yeah.
But we did nothing with it. No complimentary football. When you take that football away, the offense has to do something. We went 20 yards the wrong direction and punted.
It's baffling. The Browns have lost the turnover battle in every single game.
I know.
They're 3-2.
Yet they're 3-2. That defies NFL logic.
Yeah, that can't continue. That will run out eventually.
No.
I mean,
their quarterbacks the last 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks,
turnovers.
quarterbacks, no touchdowns, 5 picks.
Yeah, our quarterbacks are turnover sieve.
You got to have Watson back. And I'm the one who says don't be prisoner of the moment and don't go crazy. But if we can, it's a big if. We got to see it. I don't know when he's going to be back. But if we can get the Watson that played against Tennessee, then the Browns are as good as any team in football and can win a Super Bowl.
I'll
it's that simple.
Co-sign that. That's a huge if.
It's a huge if.
Because we have seen him for 3 games this year. 3 games.
3, yeah.
And he's only been that guy once.
Right.
McNuggets.
Real quick, you guys know I love advanced stats, analytics, and all
Yes.
that stuff. The Browns' defensive EPA is off the charts this year, and EPA uses turnovers as one of the highest factors, weighted-wise, in calculating.
So
the fact
even
that
with
the Browns, even though they are second to last in the NFL with takeaways, they still rank so high in EPA. Like, I'm talking, I think it's 4 of the top 18 games in the NFL this year are 4 Browns defensive performances in the most highest graded EPAs.
Wow.
They are that good in every other category measurable outside of turning the ball over, which is partly luck, and there is some tangible skill to it. But the fact that they are that high, despite the heaviest weighted factor in the equation being irrelevant to them, is stupid. It breaks every level of math and every common sense factor you could put into it.
It'd be like scoring the most runs in baseball, but you're almost
You don't
dead
hit home
last
runs.
in home runs.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
it's really difficult to be effective as a defense when you're not taking the ball away.
And if you look at that, I saw that stat too, Mike, that the Browns have 4 of the best defensive performances in the top 18. And think about it, how many games, right? Most teams have played 6 games, some have played 5. You're talking about, 16 games a week? That's 16 times 6.
72 games? No, it's 92 games.
Yeah, so you've had a lot of games, and the Browns have 4 of the top
16,
18.
96 games.
No other team has more than 2.
Wow.
I'm assuming it's the Niners have 2 of the top 18.
Right.
No other team has more than 2. The Browns have 4.
Guys, what changed after that first drive? Because the first drive, San Francisco was doing whatever they wanted. They mowed right down the field. And we all thought the same thing. Oh, boy, here we go. And that was it. San Francisco did not score another point the entire game that wasn't handed to them on a short field with a turnover.
And by the way, McCaffrey didn't get hurt till the second half. So it was like that. So that was a factor in the second half, but not in the first half. And I don't care.
Debo went out early. But
Debo, I don't care about.
Yeah.
They've played with Debo's hurt all the time. They've played without him a million times and played great offense. Earlier this year, they had a game without him. Earlier this year, they had a game without
Kittle. Did Kittle miss a game?
No, Kittle, not the other wide receiver, Ayuk.
Ayuk missed
He
the
didn't
game.
play a game. Debo, there was one game a few weeks ago where Debo had no catches, and they won by 30 points. And so McCaffrey wasn't until the third quarter. So I don't want to hear about that. It's hard to say what changed. They're just a really great defense, and they knew the only way to win this game was to play great.
Was it Schwartz adjustments?
Jay, it was them first. I tell you about them scripted plays. Scripted plays is cheating. Scripted plays is, hey, we're going to work on these all week. We already know what we're going to run.
It's like an open book
Yeah,
test.
like it's like, okay, I got my plays that you probably haven't seen on film, and we're going to run down the field and we're going to score. But after you run the little plays that you just threw in this week, now it's a chess match. You got to go play for play, match him with the defensive coordinator. Now it's his best play off the top of his head. It's your best play. What are you going to choose? And the Browns, the thing that the Browns do very well, and you're seeing it now, is you're seeing the rotation. Alex Wright, he's coming in playing more. Obo, he's coming in. They don't just keep Myles Garrett out there for 100,000 snaps. They got enough depth to bring the pressure and keep bringing it. Yeah. And I think the thing that happened to him was when you have the run game, it is very difficult to keep running the football when somebody is stopping you. Your natural reaction is to, you know what? I got Debo, I got Ayuk, I got Kittle. We need to air this out a little bit. We'll test them back there.
And that just didn't work.
And it just didn't work. Just didn't work for you, bro.
Jay, did you see anything?
I just saw Brock Purdy being really uncomfortable. His feet were a mess. His footwork was a mess. He was never comfortable in the pocket. I think that they just got after him. And we've seen a lot in the NFL where a team will march down and score, and then that's it. Then they get stoned the rest of the game.
Browns have done that a number of times.
They've been on the opposite end where they move down and score, and then they can't get anything. Yeah. So the secondary played incredibly well. There was nobody open. And the back end, and when you're bringing pressure with 4 and 5, you can drop extra guys into coverage. And it just worked perfectly. The line with the secondary worked really well.
Look at that disgusting stat.
That's crazy.
Allowing a 7.5 QBR in man coverage.
71% of the dropbacks, by the way. So, I mean, your menu is loaded with man coverage. They haven't played that much man all year.
And they got guys that are doing it at a high level. Shout out. I thought Denzel Ward, again, just played a fantastic game. You can't even... They're not even looking his way sometimes. Yeah. They just decided, I'm going to go at Martin Emerson. I'm going to throw the ball to. And think about it. Besides that last drive, what did Purdy have before the last drive where Ayuk kind of, made a little shifty play?
Very little.
The Niners had 6 yards in the third quarter. 6.
They averaged less than 4 yards per play for the whole game. Less than 4 yards per play. Think about that. That's ridiculous.
Well, the
Niners had averaged 402.5 yards of offense per game going into yesterday. 402.5.
We almost cut that in
yesterday they had 215.
Yeah. It was something to watch. I mean, we talked about sometimes when everybody's saying one thing about a game coming in, it's the NFL. It was the same thing with the Jets and the Eagles. As I was watching that game, I just kept thinking to myself, this is like a carbon copy of what we just watched.
Well, Vegas, I looked this up yesterday. Vegas, when the Browns are this big of an underdog, First of all, they've been a 9-point favorite, of 9-point dog or
Browns
more.
usually lose
75 times since they came back.
Stunning.
It's by far the most in the NFL. I think the Lions were like 63-ish times. Browns 75 times. Before yesterday, 5 and 70 in games when they were 9-point dogs or more.
It's a game
5
you're
and
supposed
70.
to lose. Everything said they were supposed to lose.
We've had as many presidential elections as we've had Browns wins when they were 9-point underdogs or more. Seriously, it's now 6-6 in presidential elections and Browns wins.
So about once every 4 years they do it.
Nothing.
Well, I don't know that they're going to be if they have Watson back, they won't be a dog by double digits.
You know what would be funny to look at? How many times the Patriots have been a double dog digit in that same time?
I can pull it up.
Because much of that was with Brady, where they were never.
They're going to be double
a
dog on the digits a few times the rest of this year.
Yeah, they might. Teddy Bruschi, by the way, this morning, saying it might be time for Kraft to make a move.
Wow.
And Bruschi and Belichick were as close as any coach quarterback that I was aware of.
That's been
Or
for a
coach
couple
player,
weeks now.
rather.
I mean, the Browns are just going to have a chance every game because of their defense.
Right.
Now, ultimately, as a whole, they're going to have to play way better offensively to do what we hope they can do in the long run than they've played. Their offense has been
Eventually
subpar.
you're going to have to beat a whole bunch of good teams in a row in the playoffs.
And my thing,
but their defense is going to give them a chance every single week.
I agree with
how
that.
can they get P.J. Walker not to throw 3 picks? Because, like,
He only threw 2, to be fair.
He
Okay,
threw
only
2,
threw
but I'll
2.
tell you what, guys.
third one
We
should've
all
been.
thought the same thing when the ball came out of his hands
On
into
that
the
throw
end
in the end
zone.
zone.
That's it. They just lost the football
He
game.
scares me, and the Browns with that defense have a chance to beat anybody. But with P.J. Walker at quarterback, they got a chance to lose to anybody.
Yeah, he's terrible. He's not a good quarterback.
Like-
but I thought it was,
There's a
Jay,
chance.
you and I last week said just stick with DTR, stick with DTR.
Yeah.
But the Browns made the right call.
In
Because
the end, it was the right call.
P.J. Walker, if nothing else,
Right.
there was a little leadership in that.
Yeah.
Watching the huddle, he was a leader.
Yeah, he
You know,
was.
he's not that good a
Now,
player.
the other thing, too, was then we don't know how it would have turned out. He had a whole week to get ready, where DTR had
2 weeks, really,
you know,
but yes.
Yep, 2 weeks essentially. Before we move too far down the road on yesterday's game, because there's a lot to talk about still, do we know anything at all about Deshaun's situation? Is he going to play against Indy? Because I saw some tweets.
Yeah,
and
there's
some
a
things.
chance.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I mean, it's a good thing they won because it's sort of
Yeah, none of
pushes
the
these
talk from
questions
last week
off.
matters
It
anymore.
burned off all the ugly
Yeah.
words.
Pushes some of these
That's it.
questions
Right.
off for a few days. But it's really strange around what's ever happening with Deshaun. And
Even
Sheffield.
now, is there more stuff that we don't know
No,
about?
I'm just saying all of the information's been really confusing.
Yeah, the
By
messaging
the
has been
way,
horrific.
I'm expecting, and we should all be expecting, the Browns to go win in Indy, no matter who the quarterback is, because they got a backup quarterback too.
Right.
Yeah.
And he just threw 3 picks in their game.
Yeah.
And they got boat raced by Jacksonville.
I think there's a
But
chance
that quarterback also beat the Ravens team that took care of us easily.
Yeah.
In Baltimore.
Well-
so I'm not going to wash all of that out.
I know
It's a
that,
week-to-week
but I'm just
league.
saying,
So which
it's week to week.
Colts are we going to get?
Right.
Which
Which
Browns
Browns
are we going to
Yeah.
get? Throw it into a hat.
there's probably I'd say there's a chance he plays against Indy, but I couldn't put a percentage on it.
Browns
Yeah.
opened as a 2-point favorite.
which is fair. I think they should be.
Run
favored.
that football.
I mean, with that
run
defense
football.
alone.
What do we got next, Mike?
I got a read, and I got a special read for you guys. You know why?
No.
New sponsor alert. Are you guys
Yeah,
ready?
right.
Drum roll,
I heard
please, Anthony.
about
Give me a
this.
drum roll.
A
Give me
big
a drum roll real
sponsor.
quick. A big sponsor alert.
Looks like an earthquake back there.
We officially have a sportsbook sponsor. Guys, if you're trying to snap into the NFL action this season, you better be doing it with FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. It's also the #1 sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Right now, brand new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 win or lose regardless of the outcome. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. The Browns and the Colts this weekend, if you're looking to place a wager, maybe you're riding high on Browns Kool-Aid fever, well, you better be using FanDuel, and you better be using FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the action. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, and FanDuel.com/UCSS, the official sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Yeah, and we know how loyal our fans are. We know. Well, our subscribers now are over, 31,000?
Yes.
Let's take 1 second to do this. We do it from time to time, but while we have a huge audience, it's important right now. If you haven't subscribed and you're watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, maybe you watched the Bills-Giants last night, and the very first commercial you see on Channel 3 after the game was Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And you're like, what is this? And how has this not been a regular part of my life? We're here every day. Hit the subscribe button. And you know how important this is. Hit the like button. Free. Cost you nothing. Subscribe. Cost you nothing. You'll get updates and alerts whenever we go live. We're always live 11 to 1 Monday through Friday. We're always live at the 2-minute warning of the fourth quarter of all Browns games. But we're also live if there's a big trade. Say 2 weeks from now, the Browns make a huge trade for a wide receiver. You want to be the first one to know about that and to hear what the guys are saying about that. You'll get an alert when you subscribe. You'll be able to click on and watch our breaking news coverage of anything big like that, Cleveland sports, not just Browns, Cavs, and Guardians as well.
And before we move on, real quick, we're trying to break a views record today. We were so close in week 1 to hitting 4K concurrence.
Yeah.
We're at 37 right now. Tell your sister,
Wow.
your mom, your brother, your friend, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your grandpa, I don't care, your coworker. Tell them to tune in. We're trying to break 4,000 today.
What's our show record? Do we know?
Well, yeah, but we don't know till the next day, so
True.
not irrelevant right now.
True.
Let's talk about Kevin Stefanski real quick. G, you alluded to this before. He's beaten Cincinnati on a regular, consistent basis. He is yet to beat a team before yesterday of the caliber of San Francisco in the regular season. So, G, I'll start with you on this. Is this officially a signature win for Mr. Kevin Stefanski?
Yep. So I totally agree.
Why?
Big time win because he could have came out here and got boat raced. The 49ers were coming off their biggest win of the season against the Dallas Cowboys. And Kevin Stefanski, you know, we know the laundry list of people he didn't have in. But one of the things that he did was he kept the game muddy, ugly, and played to his strength. There was a couple of times that I really wanted him to run the football a little more or run in certain circumstances. And I like the fact that you did come out and protect yourself. You did say P.J. Walker threw that ball at the end of the game. He was not supposed to throw the ball, and he was crazy for trying to do it. See, Kevin, sometimes telling the truth really actually works. Because we was getting on you, but I'm like, why would you be throwing the ball, even giving him an opportunity down there when you could have ran the ball 3 times, had 3 timeouts, and left no time on the clock? But the cool thing I liked about what he did in that game was he dusted off Kareem Hunt. He dusted him off and said, listen, we're going to need you, big fella. We're going to need you. It doesn't look pretty in the game
You
plan.
called for that, by the way, on Friday.
Yes, I did. That's another one of the crystal ball type deals that I had yesterday or last week. Kareem Hunt ran the ball aggressively. I like what he did. And I like the fact that he mixed it up just enough where there wasn't all kind of crazy protections and crazy stuff happening what was happening with DTR, with people just coming free in the backfield, people blitzing you. I thought the protection schemes was better. And plus, the best thing that he did is he said, listen, I'm going to let the defense lead. I'm going to let the defense handle that. And Jim Schwartz looked like he had people angry all last week because I know was in the film room talking about what Baltimore was doing. I thought they came out with a chip on their shoulder, and what Kevin Stefanski did, it says, listen, with this defense, punting is okay sometimes.
Sure.
And you look like you got a punter, and it looks like you got a kicker.
Looks like.
Iroquois
averaged almost 55 yards a punt yesterday.
I mean, special teams are now playing a factor.
Yeah.
I like the changes that he made, and he got DPJ off the kick, the punt return team, too. I like that.
I thought.
Did DPJ play yesterday?
Yeah. I think he got kidnapped with George Kittle. Yeah.
I
He's on
thought
that milk cart. He had no catches.
Milk box.
I thought Kevin Stefanski was great yesterday. He did a magnificent job. He's been unfairly maligned quite often, and I thought he was tremendous. I thought the game plan was great. He ran the ball. They run 35 times. The only reason
it was 34 to 34.
Yeah, the only reason
Exact 500
The
split.
only reason it was 50-50 is because they had to throw in those last couple of drives to try to come back because they had been run heavy. They stuck with it. They were running the ball effectively, but there were times early where they would struggle a little bit with the run, and he kept sticking with it. And G was right. Good call to use Kareem Hunt. But Jerome Ford in the second half was great. He had a lot of big runs. He moved the chains. They didn't get greedy. Listen, you were playing with a quarterback who's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He missed some easy throws on a couple of those last couple of drives. Easy throws. Wide open receivers. And yet, because of the running game and because of the penalties and because of the defense. But I thought Stefanski, it was a terrible decision by P.J. Walker to throw that ball, obviously, in the end zone. even if you're supposed to throw there, you only throw it if somebody's wide open. Not into traffic in that situation doesn't make any sense.
Never.
He got lucky, but I thought Stefanski had a great game plan. I thought he deserved an A+ for the game.
Yeah, you're not going to get any argument out of me. I've thought all along that he's a much better coach than people give him credit for. I don't think the running game's fixed by any means, but Ford did have a couple of really nice runs in the second half. He got stoned pretty hard in the first half.
Yeah.
Kareem, he had a couple of great runs. I'll give him his due on that.
He's serviceable. Come on, he's better. He's not completely washed.
Hey, there was a couple plays
I
of
said
5
he's missing
yards.
one wheel. He's missing one wheel.
Hey,
I
5
still,
yards, 6
still don't
yards.
think he is.
Oh.
What he
He's
gave the
averaging
Browns
3.3 yards a carry.
I know.
Tough.
Here's what you
Tough.
can't measure. You always say about stats; they don't measure that.
Yeah.
He takes his pound of flesh on the defense when he runs the ball.
You know what I liked? I liked that
He
they
runs
went
hard.
I liked that they went to Kareem on the last possession because you have more faith in his ball security.
I did too.
Than the young
He's
guy.
fumbled once in 1,300
But I
carries.
thought Ford was overall the better back of the
Oh, he
team.
was.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
But,
But
Kareem Hunt
But Kareem
is
still
serviceable.
Kareem's not what he was. We know that. But he still got something.
That's the only
left.
point I've
That's
made
it.
is like
That's it.
he's got 3 wheels, so know what you've got going
Well,
in.
you know what? If
Yeah.
that's what he looks like with 3 wheels, I'll take it.
That's fine.
And I really like the touchdown call with Harrison Bryant
Oh, that was brilliant.
because everyone's expecting the keeper.
All the trick plays worked.
and now they're brilliant.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick.
Well, yeah,
on this
no,
play,
that's how it works. They're always brilliant when they work.
wait, real quick.
When they don't
on,
work, they suck.
on this play, and the dots do a better job than any replay can. Look where all of San Francisco's defense, and we can't start from the game, but when this refreshes,
Right now, he's surrounded by 3 guys.
look where all the linemen were to then pitch it up.
Yeah.
I think Bull could have ran that one in.
Well,
all
by the
honesty.
way, I just was pretty harsh on DPJ. DPJ threw a pretty key block on that run, didn't he?
He did.
And we got to give him credit for that. One thing, can you go back to the Stefanski bio card? One
Yes, we
thing that's
can.
troubling to me, guys, because yes, much better job calling plays. We asked, could he stamp his genius card if he beats the Niners on Friday? We asked.
Oh,
that.
no, we're not
Not
going
a
there.
genius.
Here's
He's
what
not a
really
genius.
troubles me: is that last number.
Well, he was 1-23 before.
I know yesterday was one of the 2 wins that he's been able to pull out when trailing by 4 points.
Does that include
in the fourth
2020?
quarter. Everything. That's
Yeah,
his whole,
that's as a head coach.
Yeah, as a head coach. That's concerning.
Well, most teams have a bad record in those situations.
You got to have some comeback wins.
That
You
is
got-
real
yeah,
quick.
sure.
Just for context,
It's worse, right? In
it's the second worst. The
Okay.
Panthers are the only team
Yeah,
with
you're right.
fewer wins.
I saw that.
It's bad. It's bad.
Yep. Can't.
Yeah.
can't
And
make
part of it
excuses for
also
either.
is look at the quarterback play and late game got to have a moment. It has not been good.
No,
If
the
you-
quarterbacks and the coach take credit for that.
Yeah.
Or
Now,
blame.
yeah.
I'm with Jason. There's a lot of times where the Browns will be moving, and how many times have we seen interceptions that end the game?
Key late.
Just like we got.
We
the
almost
ball-
saw it yesterday.
We almost saw it yesterday. That's a function of if your quarterback can understand the moment, right? Some quarterbacks are arrogant enough to think they got an arm to fit it in other places, and some quarterbacks ain't smart enough to understand that you shouldn't throw it there. Like so.
But isn't the coach's job? Like I was hot last night that Brian Daboll was throwing a fit over what Tyrod Taylor did at the end of the quarter. If you didn't see it, just before halftime,
Yeah.
they had 12 seconds left. He checked out of a pass play because they could have thrown 3 plays in that 12 seconds.
a run.
He checked that into a run, and that was it. They get no points. And Daboll is screaming at his coordinator and screaming at his quarterback. You're the head coach. All that's under your
I
purview.
mean,
Okay, but
How's that his
what are you
fault?
supposed to
Why-
do if the quarterback says
No, I'm going to tell you right
with
now.
no timeout.
Why is the checkout play a run?
No. Here's what you do when they call that play, and you call it in his helmet.
You
'cause
say,
they're calling
no.
He's like, and guess what? No checking to a run. Do not check to a
Well,
run.
gee,
3
the
passes.
way you call that situation is you have 2 plays called, but the check down play is also a pass. So you can still look at the defense, see what they're in, and now call to a pass that you think might work better against that alignment. A run should never been an option in that sequence.
I don't know how you blame Kevin for PJ throwing into triple coverage in
No,
the
no,
end
no,
zone.
no,
That
that-
was,
that-
but
that
I'm
was
bringing it
on
back to the
him.
Browns.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ultimately,
all
though,
on the
that was-
quarterback.
ultimately,
And
that's on PJ.
And I do think, you run it there, you make San Francisco use its last timeout, you kick the field goal. But I get, Kevin's always going to go for 6.
Thinking of a
always
touchdown.
gonna go for
Yeah,
6.
And I like
Yeah.
that
Because
mentality.
if you go
Yeah.
for 6, now you're forcing them to go for 6
That's
the other
right,
way.
'cause they only needed a
that's-
field goal.
that's-
Yeah, right.
Everyone's
Here's a-
screaming, why are you throwing it there?
Right,
Well,
that was stupid.
That's why you're throwing it
No,
there, because
I'm
you're going
okay
for
with
6.
the decision to throw, but here's what has to be drilled into the head of all the quarterbacks, and not just Browns quarterbacks, all quarterbacks. Your best throw is a wide open receiver. The only other throw is sailing it out of bounds. That's it.
I hear you, Jay. That's easy to say in the moment.
Yeah,
when
but
you're
too
on
many
the
of these
moment
guys
on
are
the
trying to
field, guys
force-
are feeling the pressure, trying to make a play.
Don't feel it.
You know,
Take the automatic points that give
I'm
you
just
the
saying
lead.
it's easy for us to say
Yes.
not
If
playing
it
in the
was
game.
a regular quarterback,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have no problem throwing it. But if it's a third string backup, no.
But I got no problem
Yeah,
with
I'm
him
with you,
throwing.
G. I'm with
It
you.
was
Three
clear he
runs.
told him to not throw it.
Yeah,
I mean,
but that was
you
only-
I
can't throw in
like the
that
aggressive
situation.
mentality, though. I
You
love the idea.
I
you
thought
know,
going for a touchdown there was the right thing.
Yeah, and it worked out.
end.
And fortunately, their kicker missed the kick at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that we're okay with today, we would be putting a hot magnifying glass on had that kick sailed through the uprights, because now you can go back and cherry pick any number of things that in the moment seemed egregious.
Yeah.
But that's why, when you win games, it just hides.
Right.
It's a great eraser. It
Actually,
hides
the
everything.
only beef I had with Stefanski was when they, on fourth down, tried to draw him off sides and called a timeout.
Yeah, that almost
That
came
was
back to get
stupid.
him.
That
That was
didn't make
bad.
any sense.
Yeah.
That was a mistake by Stefanski. That was my only beef with him in the game, really.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
You
usage
know,
either.
I just be happy for the people, because how many games? I can't remember a game when in my lifetime, and I'm 42. I can't remember a game when it gets down to that, and you start to see the momentum shifting and the events happening in succession, where you're like, oh no, this is about to happen.
Did you
again.
think?
Yeah.
Did anybody think he was going to miss that
No,
kick?
no.
I didn't.
In fact, when
Yeah.
they got the ball to start the last drive, with the time on the clock and everything, I said, okay, I've seen this movie. I've seen it a lot. I know the script by heart.
The script, yeah.
They'll have a dumb penalty, keep a drive alive. They'll move the ball down the field. They'll get into field goal range, and the kicker will split the uprights, and the Browns lose.
And it didn't
Another
happen.
heartbreaker. And that's the way it unfolded. Dumb penalty. Here they go. Boom, boom, boom. The quarterback has been a dud all game. Gets them down close. A very makeable kick.
Yeah.
Very makeable kick.
Yep.
By a great kicker.
That's
and
football.
And it went the other way, and I was like, finally, I was happy for all the
I know.
people. Finally, y'all get to go to work on Monday and be like, that was a doggone shame. I feel sorry for them. They missed that field goal. We'll take the win.
You could argue it's a loser mentality. I tweeted, when the Browns were losing towards the end, I'm like, hey, listen, I think the Browns have played as well as they could today. I'm not going to kill them if they lose this game.
I
but
felt
go
the exact same way.
But go find a way to win, and
No,
they did.
That was one of those games we talked
Yeah.
about on Friday. If they lose a close game, it's not a win, but there are things you can take from it.
Yeah.
Giving the players today off. Do you like that, Jay?
Yeah, they earned it.
Yep, I like it too. I like it a lot.
They earned
Love
it.
it.
They're
I like
coming
it a
off the
lot.
bye, but they
Yep.
with that type of performance, you can give them the
I
day
think
off.
they earned it. That extra day is going to mean a lot, and it's also like a reward system.
This is really interesting. Zach tweeted this. Mike, I don't know if you can pull it up off of Zach Jackson's Twitter account.
Zach, yeah, I'll find it.
The weather applied metrics of, we were talking about the wind earlier, how the wind affected the last kick. Basically, the wind pushed that last kick 2.3 yards to the right.
Thank you, Lake Erie.
The initial kick was less than a half of a yard from the center.
Wow.
And then
amazing.
the spin took it less than a yard to the right, and it was the wind that pushed it the rest
How the hell
of
do
the
they
way.
measure that?
Isn't that
I don't know.
ridiculous that
I don't
they
know
know these
how they
things?
measure
How do you
that.
possibly know that?
Shout out to Hopkins.
By the way,
He been putting them boys right
I
down
know
the
he
middle.
has.
Although he
I know
missed
he
right
has.
down the middle.
It's
you know
okay.
what's funny
He
is he
made 4 or
missed that
5.
first one, and I'm like, oh, is this the day it goes south
Yeah,
for him?
right.
I know.
And then with
because
that-
Jason's been saying,
Right.
oh, these kicks are easy. He's supposed to make them. Let's see what happens when the weather gets
he's
bad.
right, because Cade York
Yes.
hit his kicks early,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And then the weather went bad, and Cade York
He's the
went
first
bad.
kicker since Cade York to make 4 kicks in a game.
Wow.
Cade did it last year, early in the season.
That's right.
And then the wheels fell off.
Where you get this Tecmo screen from?
Yeah. By the way, how come they can figure this out, but they can't
Even
figure
the font, bro.
I'm like, yo.
Guys, how come they can figure this out, but they need freaking chains to tell you about a first down? Can
I
we
like
get
the
something
chains.
in the ball? That was
Well,
not
wait
a
a
first.
minute.
The
I like
Browns
the
had
chains.
gotten that first down.
That they measured, it was almost like the fix was in.
Yeah, that-
First of all, they gave him a terrible spot,
I was
and
hot.
then they measure it, and the tip of the ball is at the sticks, and he goes like this, and then he picked the ball up and tried to move it
Yeah,
backwards.
then they
I'm
tried-
like, what are you guys doing?
I said, you can't pick the ball up. I said, he really picked the ball up, and they did it again.
See, I
moved it.
I couldn't see that from the press box,
It
but
was-
I saw Wyatt Teller lost his mind.
Well, he
on the
should.
field.
Right.
He was like,
And then
"You
they-
gotta be kidding
They
me!"
tried. Yeah, one I don't know who it was in the telecast, but one of them said, Well, maybe the angle was wrong. The angle was right down the line. You could see the tip of the ball was right at the stick.
I don't know what happened. The referees are not cheating. But
No, I'm not suggesting they are, but in that moment it sure looked like the fix
I'm
was
more
in.
than suggested. I said they're on FanDuel.
And you were emotional, and I get it. Again, if a referee was going to cheat, he wouldn't make it that obvious.
Well, when he picked the ball up and it was touching the stick, and then he moved it back about 10 inches, I'm like, what am I looking at?
It was crazy, but in the end, the replay did
And
fix.
that's the first time I've seen a spot overturned on replay. They never
No, they
overturned
hate
a
doing
spot.
it.
But
it was obvious.
It was clear.
And then,
was
and
clear.
then the face mask they called on the punt, where the guy is just literally just face masking him. And they said they called it on the Browns, and then
they fixed it.
And you see
He got the right number, wrong team.
He's seen the replay. I said, "Oh no, this can't be. This can't be." Like,
Hey, listen,
no.
The Browns got the benefit of the calls in the second half.
You know what? That's a good point. And
Yeah.
let's talk about a key penalty
Before
that
real
helped
quick,
the
before we
Browns
switch
win.
over to penalties, let me get a reading because we got a bunch of sponsors.
Don't let
now,
me lose
so
that thought.
We got to get reads in. Next up, real quick, if you need comfortable clothes for the upcoming Brown season, Bird Dogs, where to be at. They're casual, comfortable, athletic, and stylish. Check them out, birddogs.com.
Okay, so the penalty
Two in a row.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, both of them, look, if they were called against our team, we'd be going absolutely nuts.
Yes, 100%.
But they were called in our favor. We deserve a few. History tells us we'll take them, and we're not going to apologize.
Never should.
However, on the targeting, well, it's not targeting, but on the defenseless receiver call, if you watch the Bills-Giants game, there was a play in a key moment of the game that looked identical.
Yep.
And they threw the flag, and they talked about it, and they said, nope, it wasn't to the head and neck area. It was to the shoulders, and they picked up the flag. In truth, that call, that was a huge break for us because it wasn't to the head and neck area. It was right here. It looked perfectly legal. Without that, we're talking about a much different outcome right now.
Now, listen, and it would have been fourth
But
down.
I'm not apologizing.
It would have been.
It's part of the game.
It is part of the
There's
game.
bad
You take the
calls
good with
that
the
go
bad.
against every team,
Yep.
and fans always whine about it for their teams. I can't stand it. You got to find a way to overcome. And then even the holding penalty on the Niners, the next call, was very questionable.
I thought it was
but who
too.
cares?
But I'm not going to apologize because how many times have those calls gone against us?
That's right.
Hopefully they all come out in the wash. I think that officiating crew, though, all things considered, was one of the worst officiating jobs I've seen on a game this year.
I thought there were like 10 bad calls.
There were 24 penalties called in the game. I mean, think about that.
It was the most in the NFL this season, not only in number of flags, but in penalty yards in totality.
Go back to
hard to watch.
Go back to the face mask one. They played it on the stadium scoreboard, and then they rewound it in real time, and then played it again, and then rewound it and played it. When he came back on and said, after discussing,
I know
it was on a.
Of course, they're not supposed to watch it, but they do.
Oh, how do you not? It's right there, and they kept running it back and over and over again.
Yeah, that was funny.
And it was almost like he was chiding the fans, like he was saying, "We get it."
But he did say, "Sorry for the confusion." I've never heard an official say that.
That was a great call.
They have to work with these officials because it's getting to the point where they feel like if there's a big play, something had to happen where that big play happened. Like they're looking for reasons to be like, "Oh, big play. Did you hold? Was that pass interference?" You're like, listen, I would like to see guys win games on the field. But
if there's a penalty, it should be called.
Yes, but
should not be called.
But there wasn't.
I thought
there
that
wasn't
crew was
24
looking for
penalties.
things.
There wasn't
Their eyes
24
were very sharp.
I thought it was. I don't disagree at all. I thought that was a poorly called game. In fairness to the officials, we're watching these on slow motion replay, and they got to do everything.
And we got 15 angles for replay.
Exactly.
Except for the one time where Amari Cooper just ran for a touchdown and he clearly
there was no excuse for that because the ref was right there looking right at the sideline.
I agree that I thought it was particularly bad, obviously for both teams yesterday.
We talked about Jim Schwartz' dominance over what many think is one of the best coaches in the NFL, clearly one of the top offensive minds. Guys, this isn't a small sample size now. He's 9-1 against the guy.
But even as
what does he have over him? What is it that he's taking away what they do best? Is it pressure? Because at this point, it's not an anomaly.
No,
he owns
not.
him.
Yeah,
he is living rent free in his head.
In 10 games. 20 points once in 10 games.
That's
a Shanahan offense who had scored 30 points in 10 of 11 with Brock Purdy.
You know what? If you go back, I would love to know the percentage of games coached by Shanahan where he was either the primary play caller, either the offensive coordinator or the head coach. The number of times that his teams, first of all, has been held below 20 points.
Yeah, but the 9 and 1 includes a couple of games where he was a position coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was 6
take
and 1.
those out. It's still like
now
6
it is
or 7
7 and 1.
Well, even
yeah.
even
sample
I mean,
size.
Yeah, we
that's
should
a
just
huge
use
sample.
that.
7 and 1
7-1.
is fine with me. 7
Yeah.
and 1. Like, there's something there. I don't know
No
what it
doubt.
is, but he is living in his head.
When you get Shanahan, they're so multiple in what they do. They do a lot of misdirection stuff. They run from different platforms. Like, they just do a really good job of keeping you off key. So if you're a team that has a bunch of keys and a bunch of reads, and we're gonna switch to this coverage if they come out in this formation, you're gonna get bogged down. And by the time you know it, they're running a play and they just ran a reverse, or they ran a jet motion play. But Jim Schwartz has figured out the holy grail, and it's been there right in front of everybody's face. If you simply be destructive and you are dismantling people up front and you have penetration everywhere, there's nothing you can do. Pulling doesn't work. Play action doesn't work. Running outside doesn't work. If you simplify things and you say, guys up front, all I want you to do is see if you can put your hands through that guy's shoulder pads and knock him back 15 yards every play.
Yeah.
Just like Jason
it's just
said.
aggression.
Just like Jason said. When George Kittle gets punched in the mouth and he's like, dang, Myles Garrett he just sacrificed himself on that play just to put me in the stands. That changes everything. Now you're taking something away. Now Christian McCaffrey got to make 2 or 3 moves because there's a guy standing right in front of him and he cuts right into another guy. He does a good job of just saying, I'm going to bet that my guys are going to play man-to-man coverage because I know they're good at it, and my guys up front are going to be in the backfield.
So it's really point of attack.
And think about it. McCaffrey, after that first drive, really hadn't done anything until the time he got hurt. But I thought the Niners made a huge mistake. They got away from the run.
Yep.
That was
I thought they
barely ran the ball in the
abandoned
second
it way
half.
too early.
Yeah, and you know who had a huge game out of nowhere yesterday for the Browns? Rodney McLeod.
He led them in tackles.
He was fantastic. He made a lot of plays in that game.
Yeah, he led them in tackles, I think, with 8 and 7 solo tackles.
Is there anybody on the Browns defense that's not playing well?
I can't think of anybody. We didn't mention Taki much yesterday.
I can't even say Jordan Elliott. And he starts, and he's just in the backfield.
I saw Elliott in the backfield a couple times.
Darius Smith hasn't made any splash plays, has he?
No,
I feel like he's been pretty quiet.
He hasn't, but early on in the Cincinnati game, the very first play of the game, he made a blow-up play at the line. He's had moments here and there, but I think it's the sum of the parts, guys.
Yeah, but I think about this.
Yeah.
Would anybody disagree with this? On the defensive line, Myles, to different levels because they're different caliber of players.
Right.
But Myles Garrett, Ogbo, Dalvin Tomlinson, those 3 guys are playing as well as they can play, I think.
Yes.
They're playing extremely high
They're
level.
giving you what you expect.
Right?
Yep.
And linebacker, Anthony Walker, JOK, both playing great.
Very well.
And in the secondary,
I think everybody's playing well.
I think Taki's playing
everybody's playing great in the secondary, right?
But you know what? For an elite defense, and
Yeah.
I know we can't talk about them all-time great, but through 5 games, they are historically elite.
Yes.
They're doing things that great defenses. You don't see the Ravens defense with Ray Lewis and their Super Bowls up there. You don't see the Buccaneers and the Bears up there. They're in elite company through 5 games.
Yep.
You can't have a weak link.
No, you
Because
don't.
if you do,
And they don't.
a good offensive coordinator is going to find it and expose it.
And it's crazy that
All
they've gone
guys-
from horrible to fantastic.
Kudos to Jim Schwartz.
Obviously, he gets a lot of the credit. The players deserve plenty of credit, too. They've played great, and they've upgraded the talent, certainly, on the D-line. But, man.
Jay, I know it's way too early to start talking about this, but it feels to me like Jim Schwartz is going to get another shot at a head coach.
If he wants it. I don't know if he wants it.
You don't?
I haven't talked to him.
I
I
hope-
don't know.
I mean, who wouldn't want it?
Maybe at his age, he doesn't.
He's older.
You know? Does
Well,
he want to go to a
he's
band?
not older. Let's dispel that myth right now. I think he's 57 or 58.
In terms of head coaches, though, that's older.
Well, the trend in the NFL is to hire kids.
Yes.
So I agree with that. However, there's one trend that's undeniable in the NFL.
Hey, listen.
Great defense and win games.
Hey, they need to put him on that Bill Callahan plan. That's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So
I
make
don't
him
know-
a high-paid.
Yeah.
No, highest.
I'm sure he's one of the highest paid DCs already.
Highest.
I don't
maybe
know
the
if he is
highest.
because
Hey.
he didn't go. He came from a consulting job with the Titans.
Right.
Nah, we going
Now
But to get-
I think his stock has gone like
it's-
this.
yeah, for
and
sure.
my fear is at the end of the year There's going to be a team or two that says, let's go after this guy.
The trend is young offensive minds.
It is.
Yeah. That's where you go find your head coach.
Right.
So he's not old, but he's not young.
No, he's in the middle.
And he's not offense. Now, Robert Saleh is a head coach from the defensive side.
And has done very well.
And it feels like the worm is
very well. He's never,
look where he is right now.
He hasn't made the playoffs.
Look where he is right now when everyone thought, Aaron Rodgers is done.
Right, that was a big one yesterday.
They're doing in New York what we're doing here in Cleveland.
Yeah, but they have to do it all year long, and we'll see how that.
And I don't know that they can.
Yeah. But if you have a defensive-minded head coach, you're constantly going to be losing your offensive guys to head coaching jobs if you hire the right guys. So we'll see.
I think worrying about Schwartz leaving now is pointless.
No, I don't want to worry about it. I wanted to get on the radar and say, is he going to be a guy that's in high demand at season's end? There's always 7 chairs that get turned over, on average. 7 head coaches every year. So I would think that he would be one of the top 7 candidates somewhere.
And if Belichick want to ride out into the sunset, I guarantee the Patriots will take a look at him.
Well, what about his son?
They re-signed Mayo, who the Browns were going to interview for the defensive coordinator job.
Yeah.
And essentially,
is he the coach in waiting now?
Promised that he's the head coach in waiting.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we talked defense. Jason, you wrote an article on P.J. Walker this morning, and this guy was on the practice squad 3 days ago. Now he is a Cleveland Browns legend for life. How did P.J. Walker pull? Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Now, that might be prisoner
That's
moment.
a ridiculous comment.
No way.
The Niners kicker missed a game when he kicked.
Jason has my back here.
You know who P.J. Walker is? Who is the pitcher for the Indians against the Blue Jays? Who threw in the playoff game? And the fans bought up all of his wedding registry.
Yeah, I know, but
he's a fun folklore figure.
That's exactly what he is.
He's not a legend, but he's a fun folklore figure. But I know it's going to drive me crazy.
Yeah,
somebody put it in the chat.
He was a lefty.
You guys
I
can't
remember
remember
that.
his name does not help my legend.
Right? No, it doesn't.
Yeah. That hurts. Okay, folklore.
Look, he's 20 years from now when we show highlights of that game, we'll go, oh my God, I remember P.J. Walker.
I mean,
we're not going to be talking about him 30 years from now as this guy that,
in the list
won a Super Bowl
in the list of Kevin Hogan and Thad Lewis and Spurgeon Wynn. May their souls rest in peace.
Clipboard Jesus.
P.J. Walker has elevated himself above them. But, he did play an important role yesterday, right? He was more in control than DTR was a couple weeks ago. So credit to Andrew Berry for going out and getting him. The roots of how he landed here go back to Philly. He's a Philly kid. His agent's a Philly kid. Kevin's a Philly guy. AB got to know his agent.
Someone on the staff recruited him to go to Temple.
Yeah, someone on Kevin's staff, a low-level guy, Kevin Rogers.
Kevin Rogers.
He was on Temple staff. He recruited PJ to Temple. But PJ told me he wanted to come play for Kevin Stefanski because Kevin pitched him hard coming out of Temple. Again, the Philly connection. He wanted PJ to come to Minnesota. Him and his agent took a deal to go to Indy instead, to go to practice squad on Indy. And then when this opportunity presented itself, Andrew reached out to his agent right away as soon as – and again, P.J. Walker had $2 million in guaranteed dollars from the Bears, and the Bears still dumped him. So
that's unreal.
It's really unbelievable.
It's unreal, but that's the Bears.
They went with a Division II backup, a Division II undrafted guy as their backup over P.J.
And by the way, they could have used P.J. yesterday.
They could have used P.J. because now Justin Fields is down, and I'll get to that in a second. So the Philly connection, Kevin had known of P.J., reached out to him when he was in Minnesota. They turned him down. They went to Indy. So when this opportunity presented itself, he came here. He actually turned down New England to come to Cleveland. He could have had a chance to be the backup to Mac Jones in New England. It wasn't for sure what was going to happen there, but New England had a better path to be the backup than any other team, and he still came here. And I said, why? When you have Deshaun Watson entrenched as the starter and DTR is the long-term backup, this seems like an odd place that you would choose. And he said, I want to play for Kevin. Kevin believed in me, and I want to see what this guy had. They didn't really have much of a relationship, but he wanted to check it out.
Wow.
So he came here.
Plus he knows he's not a starter. He knows
that. But he played well enough. He kept them in the game and put them in a position to win the game at the end.
You know what's funny? He's not a starter. But for these guys, it's about longevity and how many dollars you can extract out of NFL teams over a period of years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yesterday during the telecast, someone said, these games, these moments are so critical for third-string quarterbacks in particular, because what he just did on the field today was to buy himself another year or two on somebody's roster.
That story about Andrew Luck that they told, that Andrew Luck got him a job. I don't know if you guys heard that story.
I did hear that.
Did you hear that story?
I was at the game.
So I didn't realize this. Who was doing it? It was Kevin Burkhardt was calling the game, right?
Burkhardt and Olsen.
I thought they did a good job
I
calling
did too.
And
Olsen made too much of a deal of the Browns punting.
Yeah, I disagreed with him.
He just kept coming back to it,
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Like,
it was-
after the pick and the touchdown, he's
Right.
like, that's why you go for it. No, they didn't give up the points because they went for it and missed.
And I'm usually anti-punt, as you know.
I know
but
you
I
are.
thought the punt there was the right call.
I thought it was, too. He had the lead and
But
a
I
great
like
defense.
Olsen. But they told an interesting story that the only reason P.J. Walker probably is around now is because he was not playing professional football. And when they started the XFL in the COVID year, Oliver Luck, Andrew Luck's dad, was the guy running.
Yep.
And P.J. Walker had been on the Colts practice squad. And Andrew called his dad and said, hey, I think you should bring this kid into the XFL. I think he can play there. And he played great in the XFL, but then the league folded due to COVID.
Yep.
And he got the opportunity with Carolina because, what's his name? The coach at Carolina had been his coach in college.
Oh,
Matt Rule?
Matt Rule.
Yes, Matt Rule.
And now, I mean, he's worthy of being in the NFL at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any doubt. Now, I say this, and hopefully it's not the case. Because the Browns defense to me is so good, if I knew that Deshaun Watson was not coming back, I'd still want to try to get a better quarterback.
well, this is
I
where
would
it gets.
too.
This is where it's a little bit interesting with
Yeah.
PJ. Is he's not on the 53, so they elevated him for the game.
Right.
But
Somebody could claim
Someone
him.
could
Take
claim
him
him.
right now.
Well-
Not claim him, but
well, he has to agree to go.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is where it
And
gets
it
a little
can't be the
interesting.
team that's next on their schedule.
But you can elevate 3 times.
Yeah.
So they could put him back down and then bring him back up if they need. But I mean, we just talked about it. Justin Fields did get hurt, and he does have ties to Chicago. So does Chicago call him now? And I have no idea the extent of Fields' injury. We'll know more in the next couple of days. Would Chicago or another team call him and
Wasn't
offer
it a
him a
thumb?
spot? Yeah, it was a thumb on his throwing hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does Chicago or someone else call him and offer him a spot? And does he go or does he stay here?
Well,
the choice is his.
he
Or do
likes
they-
playing for Stefanski, and the Bears cut him. That's
or,
easy.
Or do the Browns create a spot on the 53?
I think you got to add him.
which isn't out of the question. They were going to carry 3 originally before
Yeah.
they traded Dobbs, so they could carry 3 on the 53. So I'm kind of fascinated to see how this week plays out.
What
and
do you
they
think,
do.
Boyd?
And if Deshaun plays Sunday, then it's a
Yeah.
moot point and he goes back to the practice squad.
Right. Bull, you mentioned, though, if he
Yeah.
does miss some extended time here, Deshaun,
Yeah.
and you'd like to see them go out and get a better quarterback.
I don't know who you're going to go get.
I don't either.
Well,
but
but the thing is, the Browns. Listen, you know how I feel about needing a quarterback in the playoffs.
you can't win
And
without
I was
him.
talking to a buddy of mine today, and I said, I wonder, and we talked about this a little bit on the show, that eventually defense is going to come around again, right? Because offense has been dominating.
I think it's happening.
It looks
This
The
no,
year.
Browns
it-
are not-
before our eyes. It's happening.
The Browns
It
are
is
not
happening.
the only defense playing really well.
No.
The Browns are playing the best, but there's a lot of teams playing very good defense.
that have,
this
like
year.
the Browns, spent
Yes.
a lot of draft capital on building
Right.
a great
Now,
defense to stop these quarterbacks.
Maybe as the season goes, it'll change. Last year, offenses got off to a slow start and picked up as the year went along.
Right.
But it's already gone a little longer this year than last year. There's been a lot of key injuries on offense. Maybe that's not true, but it seems like there's more key injuries on offense than we've seen in years. So maybe we can get back to where, listen, you can't win a Super Bowl with P.J. Walker quarterback. I think we all know that.
Yes.
But we might be back to the point, maybe, where you can win a Super Bowl with a mid-tier quarterback,
Right.
a decent guy. And again, Watson doesn't seem to be anywhere close
Who
to
are
out
you?
for the year.
Carson Wentz,
I have to
Nick
think.
Foles. Once upon a time, won a Super
I'd
Bowl.
almost rather go after a veteran backup who's been with another team on a team that may be playing for next year.
Right.
It wasn't on front of mind, so I didn't really think about a guy
Right,
specifically.
right.
I don't know that I want a guy. See, the problem with Carson Wentz is, even though he's the best player out there, he's so turnover prone. Like, I can't have that. If I'm going to bring another guy, a veteran, let me bring a guy who may not be that great, but
gonna
he's
take
not
care
going
of
to
the
turn the
ball.
ball over.
An Alex Smith type. If he was still,
Yes.
if
That
he's
type
not
of
in the
guy.
league anymore,
No,
but
I
that
know.
type of
Yeah,
quarterback.
that's very.
You mean Jacoby Brissett?
Kinda.
They are not going to. What's Brissett making this year?
I don't
What
know,
if he
but
wind up
I
getting
don't think. Why would Washington let him go?
It's not.
They're not moving him.
Guys, it's Deshaun or bust. We can't change it now. We all said it all summer. It's
Yes.
Deshaun or bust.
But again,
There
with
is
this
no
great
other magic
defense,
quarterback
though,
to
you're
go
really
get.
going to do that?
No, I'm not.
The window's too short.
I can't throw my hands up and say, well,
Not with
Deshaun's
this
out.
defense.
There's no quarterback to go get. There's none.
Well, listen.
Carson Wentz is not available.
I mean, there's 31 other teams that are looking at him and going, nope, not that guy.
I'm saying
They don't have
Jason,
this elite defense.
I think that if Watson couldn't play, that the Browns probably can't win a Super Bowl. What I'm saying is, it's possible that their defense is so good that if they get mediocre quarterback play on a guy who's not going to turn the ball over, that maybe they could still. Again, this is only if Watson was going to be out for the year.
I don't know that I necessarily disagree with that point.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you that guy. Who's that guy?
I'll tell
There's
you.
none available. Maybe
I know
at the trade deadline something emerges.
I know he's old. You wouldn't have to give up much for him, but he's probably available to trade. Andy Dalton. I know he's not getting anybody excited. Nobody you're trading for is getting excited.
Bro,
Andy Dalton's a professional.
I could rally around Andy Dalton more than I could rally around P.J. Walker.
All right,
so it's
sure.
an upgrade.
All right, Jameis Winston.
See, but Jameis is turnover prone.
He'll throw you a couple, but
Jameis is on a team that's.
And as much as you guys don't want to look at this, you've got to look at the contract. I don't know what these numbers are.
I don't know what Dalton's got, but here's the thing.
You've got to look at the contracts.
You can't. Why would the Saints trade Jameis? They're in the playoff mix.
Yeah.
Andy Dalton's the backup on Carolina. They're 0-6, and they got a rookie quarterback. And now maybe they want Dalton. Maybe they want Dalton around to mentor the kid. I don't know.
Who's backing up C.J. Stroud?
Davis Mills.
I think Dalton is the one who makes sense. He's the best backup quarterback on a bad team.
Ultimately, I think Deshaun's probably back.
Yeah,
within the
probably.
next couple of weeks.
If he posts up and he pulls up on the white steed.
Well, what he did, I don't know if you put any stock into this. He tweeted something that see you soon yesterday.
I did see that. Yeah.
And that to me, soon is Sunday.
Right.
Don't say soon is 3 weeks.
Or do you think about it like this? If this bought them some time, I think this 49ers win bought them major time. Because now they feel like if I can find a good enough plan and I'm Kevin Stefanski, I know what this guy is turnover prone. I could kind of tweak what I'm doing. Maybe they think, all right, let's go get a win against the Colts. We got the Cardinals coming up.
Who's between the Colts and Cardinals? Why can't I think of it right now?
Huh?
There's a game in between the Colts and Cardinals.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
But
Seattle.
They could have beat the Bengals yesterday.
They could have, but in that game,
every game's could have, should have.
In that game,
they had it first and goal.
That game was fascinating.
I didn't see it. I watched it on my game tracker. Was all.
I got to get a read, and I'll toss it back to you guys. First off, shout out to my guy Zach, who said Ryan Merritt was the name we were thinking of.
Ryan Merritt.
Yep.
After Jose Batista called him out, saying, "quote He'd be shaking his boots." He went out and pitched 4.1 shutout innings against the best offense in the NFL. Shout out Zach for watching, listening.
That's 4
also,
1/3,
shout out
Mike.
to people
4
watching
1/3.
and listening.
4.1.
How about 4 1/3? So, listen, I chugged a half bottle of champagne a second ago. I'll be honest. I got a piece so bad right now.
By the
I
way,
can't get out this chair.
Me too. Me too. I gotta go back.
Let your
I
co-pilot
gotta do
step
it
in for 5
maybe after
minutes.
this. I'll let him. I really do have to pee so bad.
I do
so
too.
Small. But what y'all got to know is barbershop 3 to 4 o'clock. G Bush, and also some special merch you're giving out in the barbershop. And if you want to cut to it live, giving out some T-shirts, some Browns color Kool-Aid Mafia merch.
I'm giving away 2 today, 3 to 4. All you got to do is check out the show, watch the Browns, and get the code word of the day. And I'm going to raffle off 2 free T-shirts. And we've already raffled off a bunch of stuff. Look at all the winners that have won just by listening to the barbershop. We give out rally flags. We got T-shirts. We've given out the hoodies actually today that I'm
Who's your
wearing
model
today.
there, bro? I don't recognize him.
No, he's just a regular guy.
Just some dude that you photoshopped his sweatshirt over.
Yeah, boom, boom, right there.
Are you paying him? Because is
No.
that McNuggets in the bottom?
Does he know he's
Looks a
wearing
bit
the
like
sweatshirt?
McNuggets.
No, he has no clue that's a Kool-Aid Mafia shirt.
He might not even be a real person.
He just photoshopped the
He's
sweatshirt.
AI.
That's how you know G. Bush.
Hey,
Listen,
can I make a style suggestion? And if you could just tell me right now in real time if it's trash. I'd like one of these, but I want an orange hood and orange sleeves. Is that trash?
I might jump.
Because now I look at that, and even if I don't look at this, I say, oh, that's a brown sweatshirt.
Yeah, if I put the sleeves, I see JB all in my mix. You see how I got a pattern, a release date?
Yeah.
He want the J's released all at once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jay want the orange one already. You see what I've been trying to do? The brown
I
one.
want a mix of brown and orange, though. Orange one would be good, too.
You want the orange sleeves.
I want the orange sleeves and an orange hood.
I can't do that one, but I can give you a baseball style one.
Okay, so solid color. Baseball style is white with a colored sleeve.
Yes, I could give you that.
I'll take it.
By the way, between the post-game show that G, Earl, and Mike did yesterday, G's podcast last night and my podcast last night, the fans over 60,000 views between those three.
That's
That
crazy.
almost fills Cleveland Brown Stadium.
That's crazy. I seen Bull was doing crazy numbers. I said, dang. Bullpen got like, dang.
Is it still called the bullpen?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Where is it available? Just plug it real quick. Wherever you
It's
get
on YouTube.
podcasts.
It's on YouTube, but we can't mention this.
Yeah, I know. I know.
okay.
YouTube or the regular place.
So just
Just search Adam the Bull.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can find it. But between the three, that's how much
That's
people love hearing from us.
60,000.
60,000 views between
And
the three.
today's show
is going
will
to have
likely
insane
it'll
numbers.
all be over 100,000.
We went
probably
over
in a day.
4,000 views at one time.
That's
for
a
the first
record.
time
New
ever.
record. So shout out to you guys.
Wow.
Guys, I am going to run to the bathroom in a sec, so I'm going to leave. But I want to pitch you guys a topic.
Can we talk about these other games for a second, Mike? Can we do that for a sec?
We're going to get to that at the end. We're
Yeah.
going to get to that at the end.
Okay.
But real quick, we touched on it a little bit, but I do want to dive a little deeper. Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt revitalized the running game, and Amari Cooper showed out like a true wide receiver number one yesterday. And sometimes those guys, in the grand scheme of how we talk about the Browns, kind of fall through the cracks. And I do feel like we deserve and we owe them a little bit of time and dedication today because Amari Cooper played like the best offensive player on the field, and Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt made it seem like they'll never be Nick Chubb, but the Browns had a competent running game against a very good run defense yesterday, and they deserve some kudos as well.
If you add the three of them up, Cooper, Ford, and Hunt, they went for over 250 total yards. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, well,
I
Amari
didn't see
Cooper
it
made
coming.
that one catch that was just ridiculous.
Terrific.
Now,
I mean, that's a great catch.
The defender slipped, but I'm not. Again, I'm.
Well,
I
no,
don't- I
that
don't
was
care.
the long play, but that.
Oh, you're talking about the high point.
I
Oh.
mean, that was an amazing
Oh.
play.
And got his feet in.
Yeah, I mean-
that's what a wide receiver one looks like.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's the difference between the very good to great receivers and the other guys. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many receivers that would not have gotten there. They might have made the catch, but they wouldn't have gotten the feet in.
Right, you're right.
And he had the presence of mind to get the feet, and I mean that's a catch you make like 1 out of 50 times.
You know, it's weird. David Bell had the biggest catch of the day
That was
yesterday.
a big play.
I mean, it was the big. It was
Yeah.
one
Fourth
throw
down.
for 6 yards.
Fourth down.
And it was fourth down. If he doesn't
Yeah.
make that catch, the game is over. They went to David Bell on the game's biggest play.
And it was the same route.
And he caught it.
Same route Goodwin caught. When he caught the ball, Goodwin kind of like was stuck in motion and like just turn around and fall.
Yeah,
He got
that's
the first
it,
down.
that's it.
David Bell comes back the next drive. He was like, "Oh, I saw what you did wrong."
Yeah.
Throw the ball to him, turns around, leans over, gets the first down.
But-
It's crazy.
Can you imagine what these two would be saying if David Bell dropped
Oh
that?
my
You are
God!
kidding.
You ain't
And
lying.
fairly
You guys
so,
would've been
brother.
killing-
How do you go to David Bell on
So
fourth down?
now we have
So
the
will.
benefit of the results.
Yup.
Okay,
Yes.
we have the benefit of the results. And by the way, that play was not called for David Bell.
No.
He went right to him.
He was the
looked
read.
right at him and went
Okay,
right
so
to
let's
him.
say it was. So here's the situation.
Yeah.
It's 4th and 4. The game's in the balance. We're all in the huddle. Kevin Stefanski calls the play in, and we don't know the verbiage, but here's the play. We throwing it to Bell, boys. Ready? Break.
If you knew,
What are you saying?
You throw it to the open guy.
That's
I think when
that's
they,
a great question.
What are you saying?
hell no.
Wait, what?
I
Hell
think
no.
it's like when David Blatt threw up a play. Yeah, when LeBron is here in
Yeah,
pounder.
no.
LeBron said, "I scratched it."
Yeah, no. I
I
mean,
think
come
Walker
on.
saw that he was open.
That's
Going to be
exactly
open
it.
right away.
I think when he got to the line and he saw the way the Niners were playing it,
He knew it was there.
He knew he was going
Right,
to David Bell.
right.
Right.
And
I don't know. It was necessarily a huddle call. I think it's when he got out.
Right,
And
yeah.
David Bell said he knew it was coming.
Well, and here's why. Because he's not a threat. Niners are covering up guys that are threats. In that position, they think, okay, you're going to go to Njoku, you're going to go to Amari Cooper,
Yeah.
you're not going to go to David Bell.
I thought Njoku quietly had. I know the numbers weren't good.
I don't know what 4 catches.
He had a better game than the numbers show because
because he had that touchdown.
Yeah,
That was a great
that's-
play.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he had a 20-yard screen
Yes.
called back
He
to the
had-
Jet
Yes,
Wills.
that's right.
He had
That
two,
would
He had
if
two
he has
plays
that
called
catch,
back.
he has 5 for 60 and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's a very
that,
solid day.
That was a good play.
First of all, hats off to this
To
guy.
playing, period.
For playing.
Yeah.
This dude is a warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that must feel like.
he has raised his
He has.
stock the last 2 weeks with fans and media alike.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But
By the
his-
way
his-
he's played.
his-
By catching himself
And
on
again,
fire,
on a
he's
day
become
where
a
his
popular player.
Stats aren't much, but he made some big blocks in the game. Like, he was a big factor in the running game.
And it's his hands too. Like
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
not
his right arm was wrapped in gauze
Yeah.
when he was leaving the locker room.
Can you imagine what that must feel
Oh,
like, guys?
God. And
Yeah.
you getting hit.
Oh, God.
It's cold outside.
And he's
It's
out there
wet.
balling out.
And when you playing in the wet, like you got to understand, football is a nasty, smelly sport. He has to keep that clean. You
Yeah.
can get an infection very easily if you're not doing the right stuff, man. And we've seen what happens when you got that staph infection going around Cleveland. I mean, it was rampant like one year, like it was
They
crazy.
couldn't get rid of it. They couldn't get rid of
just
it.
couldn't- just
As
couldn't
for
do
the
it.
running game, you mentioned the running game there, Mike. We talked about it a little bit before. I thought both backs played pretty well.
And they stuck with it.
Yeah.
Which I was glad to
And
see.
they had a lot of running plays.
I mean, they had no choice to stick with
And
it.
P.J. Walker, who didn't, I think he had like 3 carries for 1 yard, but he used his athletic ability and his legs to move around in the pocket a little bit or get out of the pocket and make a couple of plays.
Yeah.
He didn't run the ball really, but you know, he made some plays. And I don't think, you know, listen, I like all of us pretty much thought they would lose this game, right? There wasn't really a clear path to winning. But I believe that if they had started DTR, they would have lost.
Oh yeah.
I think he
even
would've
though Walker didn't do much,
Right.
he did just enough.
I do think DTR would have looked better the second time around.
Well, how
but
could
it's
he look
impossible.
worse? He
Yeah,
would have
I know.
had 2 weeks
But
to prepare for it.
I just think that he would have had a little bit more confidence and a little bit more
Sure.
comfortability. But it's impossible to say. But
Yeah.
I mean,
I
you
think
know,
he can make a few. He has a little more talent to make a couple extra plays. Them throws that Walker missed in the middle of the field when he was kind of scrambling and threw the ball and short hopped
the
him.
last drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that last
It
drive
really
he would hit
expo-
those.
it
You
really
said
exposed
DTR
him.
is better?
Yeah,
More
I think-
talented?
More
I think
skill.
yeah,
More
I
skill.
think
I don't know.
Does
but
he make those throws in that pressure situation? We don't know.
I think P.J. Walker, with all his flaws and didn't play particularly well, had more confidence than DTR would have had. I agree DTR would have had more, but more confident and just his ability to process because of his experience
Right.
is going to be a little quicker.
For the most part, PJ got the ball out on time and on target.
Right.
The bad pick, I just think it was a great play by Fred Warner.
That was
Actually.
fantastic.
Because
He's a great player.
Because if you go back and look, PJ wasn't staring him down. He started over here, like he went through his reads, but Fred just
great
saw it
play.
coming.
saw it coming. He's a
He's
great
a great
player, made a
player,
great
and that's
play.
what he does.
And the sideline interception, he was under pressure. Michael Dunn got bull rushed on that play, and the pressure was coming right in his face. He was trying to get rid of it. Zach made the point. That was a great point. They're playing with a very limited playbook right now because the quarterback's
Yeah.
limited. So they went back to the sideline route one too many times. The cornerback read it, jumped it, made a great play. That's why the Niners are great defensively. But for the most part, I think he got the ball out on time,
Yes.
on target, was safe with it. I know he had the 2 picks, almost had 3. It sounds silly to say that.
Yeah.
But the rest of the day, the ball was pretty much going where it needed to go, and it was a conservative game plan.
Right.
It was the right game plan, and he gave them a chance to win at the end. And that's
See,
all you can ask
with
him
that
in that
defense,
spot.
yes,
Yes.
it's not. This is proof. It's not going to take much against most teams. This is a great team.
This is a great team.
and they were able to get it done with an all-time elite defensive effort and an effort by the quarterback.
I still believe the Niners are the best team in football.
I do
I do too.
I do
I didn't
too.
see
And
anything
the Browns
yesterday that
beat
changed.
them. I think it's funny. Fans often want to say, they're not that good. Well, when you say a team's not that good, you're kind of knocking your own win. The Browns fans should be saying, we just beat the best team.
Yeah.
Because you just beat the best team.
I think there's very few trash teams in the league, and I think there's a couple plays that separate really good teams and good, medium teams. But any given week, you can play.
That's right.
Especially when you got guys that are out. Then you give them.
I thought the Giants were one of those trash teams, and they played right there with the Bills. So
1 yard
you
away.
never know. No win. The only team that's winless is Carolina. The only team, and there's no teams without a loss.
And by the way, the Browns, when you are a great team, you're bound to get hot. And I wouldn't even say that they're playing hot right now because they get turnovers.
Hot's 3 or 4 wins in a row.
Right, you just lost last
Like,
week.
we're nowhere near
They're
hot right now.
Like they haven't got hot where.
Well, because they're playing great on defense, but they're playing lousy on offense.
So what I mean by hot, I mean Myles Garrett getting 5 sacks in the game. He hasn't even got. Zadarius Smith hasn't got.
Well,
the
that's
statistical
something
stuff.
like against Indy or Arizona that we may see because those are really bad
because
teams.
they're playing well as a team, right? But they still don't have they're playing great as a team. But think of how great they play. If you are now getting those interceptions, you're now getting strip sacks.
Right.
You're now and Myles
And
Garrett.
complimentary,
Right,
too.
right, right.
And Myles Garrett can go off and be like he's unblockable today, and he has 5 sacks.
Right now, the Browns are in the middle with 20-something other teams. They have the ability to be the Browns' ceiling is high. I mean, I think their ceiling is top 10 ceiling, which means you can win a Super Bowl.
What do you make of the fact, though, that they are, if the Chargers lose tonight, if they win, there's 13 of 16. If they win, or if they lose, rather, 75% of the AFC has 3 wins or more.
We knew they were going to be good coming into the season.
But 75%. Like those losses.
I wonder
have
how
to
that
be coming
compares to
from
last
somewhere.
year. I wonder how. Because most of the teams are near the middle. When I say who's a great team right now, well, the best teams right now, despite this week, are still San Francisco, Philly, and Kansas City. Right? I still think they're right now the 3 best teams.
I think
the 3 worst teams are probably Carolina, New England, and the Giants. And everybody else, but even the rest of those teams are not that far off from the top teams.
I think you got to start putting the Lions in there.
You're right.
Lions are 5-1.
Lions,
they're playing great football.
I mean, they're tied right now. They're tied with the Eagles and the Niners for the best record in the NFC.
And by the way, yesterday, you talk about making excuses for injuries. So the Lions played a Buccaneers team that had been playing very well coming into that game.
Looked good.
Their defense completely shut down Baker. Right? Baker was awful in that game. He threw a pick. He made some terrible throws. Offensively, the Lions were without Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery got hurt in the game, and they still dominated.
Yep. St. Brown got 140 some odd yards.
I know he went.
You got to read, Mike? Go ahead.
I do have a read real quick, guys. We mentioned it before. I got to mention it again. But FanDuel is now officially the official sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. You can snap into the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, whether you win or you lose your initial $5 bet. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. Ride the Browns' momentum into your wallet. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options from everything, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. One more time, that is FanDuel.com/UCSS. That gets you $200 in bonus bets if you're a new customer and place a $5 bet. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL, the official sportsbook, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
By the way, Andy Dalton's signed a 2-year, $10 million deal before this season.
Yeah, that's not happening.
They're not going to do it with $8 million guaranteed.
Does anybody still think that they've got to go out and make a move for a wide receiver? Because again, it was a win.
I still would.
I'd like to.
But when you look at the number of catches from wide receivers yesterday, not named Amari Cooper. By the way, what's DPJ? What are they doing here?
Jay, in fairness, I mean, look who you have playing quarterback. I mean, how
get
many
it,
catches can you have?
There were 18. There were 18 catches last night.
I just, to me, part of that is the quarterbacks haven't played well. I mean, they've only had one good quarterback performance in 5 games. I can't completely blame the wide receivers. That being said, I wanted to upgrade a wide receiver before the season. Yep. The fans told me I was crazy, and I still want to upgrade. But I'm not going to kill. Their wide receivers are what they are. They're just guys. We knew that. We should have known that. Besides Cooper.
By the way, I thought Darden looked great on punt return.
Yeah, I like that.
He's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he averaged 10 yards. He had 4 returns for 40 yards.
Think about for a minute,
better than okay. DPJ, I don't know if he's got one for 10 yards, a return for 10 yards this year.
Think about this for a minute. And you mentioned briefly Jedrick Wills before the game. The Browns against the 49ers had Jedrick Wills at left tackle and Michael Dunn at left guard.
Yep.
And it really wasn't a factor.
No.
Just take that into your brain for a minute.
And the with Nick Bosa, he kind of got home on a slide protection communication problem. It wasn't like it was a pass off between DeJuan Jones and Wyatt Teller, and he kind of just snuck in and came free. But it wasn't like he beat somebody 1-on-1 and they was just like he got around the corner. It wasn't that big of a problem.
No.
It wasn't, and he had 3 tackles for loss in the run game. That's to be expected when you're running the ball as much as
He
they
had
are.
an okay game, but he didn't have that splash kind of T.J. Watt game that you would have expected.
He did not.
And that had a lot to do with the victory. I know in post-game, Stefanski really credited Dunn, who he said he was banged up or something too.
He's had a history of back issues throughout his career.
Gosh, he performed very well.
He was great. He's such an important piece that goes unnoticed and untalked about. It's a guy we never mentioned.
Right.
But he's so versatile, and he can play guard.
Yeah.
He's so often 60. How often do you hear 68 is now eligible? That's Michael Dunn.
Yeah.
Coming in as sort of that third tight end, extra blocker in situations. He can play so many multiple different spots for them. He was a practice squad guy. He was a guy that was supposed to make the 53. He didn't. Put him on practice squad. He clears waivers, and they bring him back up now So,
and performs admirably.
And he
who was
really
the
did.
number 53 that they kept putting
Nick
in as a
Harris.
fullback? That was Harris.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That-
And again, like this is where when you miss Joel, this is the trickle-down effect. Now Michael Dunn, who's normally that extra blocker, is now your left guard, and now Nick Harris is in this other sort of weird utility.
It
role.
worked. They did a nice
It
job.
worked.
Back to what Bull when it was said about the wide receivers. You know, I think you owe yourself when you got a special unit. I think you owe it to your whole organization that you really look and turn over every stone to try to make the offense better, because it just continues to feed fuel to the defense by saying, look, hey, we got to hold these guys under 10 points.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it feels like to be like, hey, we got 21 points this week.
Right.
We got 24 points this week.
Gee, the reason I think you owe it to the fan base to go all in here is because one of the components that you can win a Super Bowl with, and we know this, is an all-time great defense. And I know it's only 5 games. It's all we have to measure this team off of. But they're all-time great as measured through 5 games. So if there's a move that can be made that can, improve your wide receiver group, and you don't make it, you're doing a disservice to the defense and to the fan base.
How about
we deserve to make a run at something here. We've been here for all these years of horrible football. You've got one of the necessary components to get to a Super Bowl. You've got it.
You want to
So
know
go
an
get the other
exciting,
pieces.
a blockbuster trade? I know the salary cap probably will screw it up, but be quiet. Blockbuster trade with the Broncos. We get Garrett Bowles for left tackle. We get Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver. And we get Samaje Perine in the mix in the backfield. Boom! Let's
And we
go.
don't have a draft pick until 2029.
Who cares? Who cares? Draft picks are for losers. Losers.
It's not
Get
the
players.
draft picks. It's the you can't. That's the elephant in the room is the money, Bull.
Browns have the most cap space in the league.
You can't just
Most cap space in the league.
for this year.
I don't care about next year. I want to win
How much is the cap hit next year for Deshaun Watson?
$64 million.
What's the cap hit for Mahomes? What's the cap hit for all the other great quarterbacks?
No, listen.
Suck it up, pay more money.
but
Jimmy Haslam is a dope. The only thing he's good at is spending money. That's it. He's useless in every other area except for spending money. So spend the money. I don't care. Go over the cap. Keep going over the cap.
I was a big proponent of paying Jonathan Taylor and making that move.
Yeah.
I do think in the right situation, if like the defense, I agree with the idea that the defense has proven itself, and if the right move is out there, make it. My point is they're not going to do it on a quarterback because there's no quarterback out there that's going to make a difference.
Okay.
It's Deshaun or bust. But if there is a receiver out there, an impact receiver at the trade deadline, or running back, because I'm not at all convinced that this running back situation is solved. I don't think Jerome Ford is a feature back.
I think
don't
it's further along
Kareem
than
is
I don't
wide
think they're just
receivers,
trading
though.
for a feature back. I think a guy like Perine, who's an in-the-mix type of back, makes sense.
I think I'm not sure that they've solved their running back issues. Let's put it that way.
No, I'm not either. But which one's the bigger problem? To me, the wide receiver group is the bigger problem.
I think you got to get Deshaun back. I mean, we got what? How long to the trade deadline? 3 weeks? 4 weeks?
It's October 31st. It's Halloween. This
Listen,
year.
And that's the problem. You got to get Deshaun back and see. Like
If Deshaun
to Bull's
plays-
point,
Yeah,
they've
go
had
ahead.
terrible quarterback
Right.
play.
If Deshaun plays to his capabilities, it's fine
well,
having.
they did have Deshaun for 3 games.
I'm saying, but
the
if-
wide receiver room didn't light anybody on
and
fire.
in the third game. In the third game where he played well, we weren't talking about the wide receivers because when he's playing to his capabilities, it doesn't matter. The good quarterbacks make the guys better or
right.
serviceable enough.
So
but I would get a receiver if I could.
there
that
are
being
a
said.
few more weeks here to figure
Yeah.
it out and assess. I'm not totally against adding somebody. I don't want to make it sound like I am.
Jerry
I'm just
Judy's
saying
not a star
it ain't-
either.
No.
No.
But I'm just saying it ain't going to be a quarterback, guys. That's not happening. They're not spending money on a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think. Were you here when we were talking about Jerry Jeudy getting lit up? Yeah, you were here Friday.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
God.
Steve Smith was like
Yeah,
like
we didn't care much for that. Okay, where's the confidence now, guys? Like it's a week-to-week league and everything goes up and down, and it felt like the building was on fire. It wasn't. You're 3-2 now. You're in a pretty good spot. Think of where you'd be with the Ravens winning yesterday and the Bengals winning yesterday if that field goal had sailed down the middle.
Browns would be in last place.
And you would feel like, oh my God, the season is a pull from being completely unraveled. But where's the confidence today in this whole picture?
Must win. It's a must-win game going into Indianapolis. It's a must-win. If you win that game, you put yourself now at 4-2, and you got wiggle room. You save yourself another week. You don't have to play Deshaun Watson. You may not need him. You could get a victory. You're 4-2. You stay in the pecking order in the AFC North, and then you look around and say, okay, we get now the next 3 games. We got the Seahawks. It's a tough game on the road, but you got the Cardinals as well. So Kevin Stefanski needs to put some games together. I think this gives his team a little more confidence because now you play the 49ers like you played. You've set a standard. Now you can't fall below that and go over to Indianapolis and not play the same way.
But that's again, it's a week-to-week league, G. I thought you guys overreacted too much to the loss 2 weeks ago, in my opinion. And I love this win. I think it's a great win. I'm not looking at the Indy game as a must-win. The season's not over if they lose that game. I'm going in expecting them to win, but I'm not. If they lose that game to Indy, I'm like, oh my God, it's all over. I'm not going to do that.
No, but what you have to do if you want to be a playoff team. You can't win one, lose one, win one, lose one.
You can't lose to teams that are better that you're better than.
Yes, you can because
no,
teams
you shouldn't.
what are you talking about? Are you saying playoff teams never lose to bad teams?
You won't.
Happens all
when you
the
get
time.
to the playoffs, if you play a better team and you lose, you're not a better team because they're all good enough when they get to that point. We know what the Colts are. We know what they are.
I know that, Jay. But
it takes away the luster of the San Francisco win if you go lose to the Colts.
Agreed.
Okay.
But I'm saying the season's not over if they lose the game.
Of course it's not. It's week 6.
He's calling it a must-win.
Because it is. If you want to be a good team and you just beat the 49ers. You go into Indianapolis. They got a backup quarterback playing. You got the best defense in the league. If I'm going to say they got the best defense in the league, that's a game you should win.
It's a game they should win. Yes.
Should win, yes.
But I'm not going to call it a must-win either.
No.
Not when it's week 6. It's hard to win on the road in the NFL. Ask San Francisco. It's the fact that the Browns have taken care of business on the front end with home, aside from Baltimore, which whatever. They've had the front-loaded schedule with a lot of home games, and they've won them. That's key. That's huge because now they've got a lot of road games coming up in front of them. It does take a lot of the steam out of the San Francisco win if they lose at Indy.
And it's a road game that you should win.
It is.
And there's not a lot of those on the
good
schedule.
Teams, you
not.
lose those games. That happens.
Yeah.
The Eagles just lost to the Jets.
It absolutely happens. The Niners just lost to the Browns.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying is this team desperately needs to put together a string.
Some momentum.
Yes.
And you can't. And when you go win, loss, like Stefanski has done for the bulk of his time here, you lose all of the momentum of a momentous win.
Agreed, Jay. But what I'm saying is that even if it's going to be disappointing if they lose to Indy because we're expecting them to win. But sometimes you go win, loss, and maybe that continues through Indy, but maybe after that they win 4 in a row or 5 in a row.
Well,
we can't react to the Indy loss as if they can never do that.
No, but the opportunity to win 4 in a row is right here. Look at their schedule coming up. Seattle won't be easy. I'm certainly not going to say that. That's a game that I think if you're picking, they'll be an underdog in that game.
The Browns have already played some tough games.
Of course they've played a lot of them.
They could win 4 in a row. The Browns, with good quarterback play, can win 4 in a row anytime. It may happen next week. It may not. If Deshaun Watson doesn't play next week, they're only a 2-point favorite. The Colts are not terrible. They're not very good.
They beat the Ravens in Baltimore.
Because Ravens in Baltimore. This is the NFL, guys.
Yeah.
There's upsets every week. We can't every time the Browns lose a game, we can't say everything's terrible.
But no. Like I think when you say everything's terrible, you're projecting. No one's saying everything's terrible.
Yes, you guys are right last week.
Did I say the
season? The Browns to win.
I picked them to win. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, you still don't like that.
No, he hates it.
He hates
because it was not legit.
I give him credit, man. He did it. He had the guts to do it. None of us did.
I stand on what I stand on. That's why if I'm sitting here saying, if I pick you to beat the 49ers, why would I not come back and say you better beat the Colts?
Yes.
That's crazy. It's ludicrous to me.
And I think the verbiage he has a problem with is must win, and I do too. A must win is when you lose, your season's over. That's a must win.
Right.
However, in the pantheon of important wins, this is one. And again, you go through the schedule when it comes out at the beginning of the year and you say, yeah, that should be. You're going to win some you should lose, and you're going to lose some you should win.
Right.
We've already lost a game we should have won. You can't pile up those games that are L's that should be W's and come out on the other side.
Wait a second. You're saying with the Steeler game.
Yes, they should have won
They
that.
also
But they
just
won
won
a
a game
game
they
they
should
should
have
have
lost.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
you don't want too many of the should have been
course,
wins
Jay.
in the loss
But what
category,
I'm saying-
because that means you're going to have to come up with wins that
All right,
you don't expect.
But,
So,
but I think the Browns can win every game the rest of the year.
Yes, that's
Your
a
lips to the
possibility.
football gods' ears. I hope they do.
The Browns are learning how to be a more consistent team, hopefully, right? And it may not happen. I think they're going to win this week, but it may not happen this week, especially if Watson doesn't play. And so I'm just saying that this win. Now, last week we were down, and you're like, oh God, I'm not expecting them to win. But now they won, so now we have different expectations.
1,000%.
Because before the Niner game, you wouldn't have said they have to beat Indianapolis. It's terrible if they don't.
No, I was only thinking about the San Francisco game at that point.
And what I'm saying is, when they lost to the Steelers, it felt like the most devastating thing ever. And now, who cares at the moment? Now, maybe it will end up costing them, but in the moment, who cares because they beat the Niners?
I think and this was my point originally. We're riding high with a great defense, winning a game that easily could have been an L. It easily could have been an L. Everybody here knows that. You got it. You exhale, you move on. You don't apologize for it, you move on. I think the idea of a football season, because yes, there's 17 seasons within themselves. It's all week to week. However, a big part of solving these 17 individual seasons are putting together a bunch of wins in a row. And when I look at the schedule, I don't know that there's a more favorable part of the schedule for us to win 4 in a row than this part.
Yeah, I mean, winning is...
We got to go at Cincinnati. We got to go at Baltimore.
Right.
Those aren't going to be easy.
The Browns will be a slight underdog in Seattle.
In those, and they'll be in Seattle, and probably at Cincinnati and at Baltimore. And
go ahead, Mike.
I'll let you guys get back to this in one sec, but I need to remind the good people out there that if they need the most comfortable fall clothing for the upcoming and remainder of the football season, Bird Dogs is the place to get your clothes. They are casual, they are athletic, they are stylish, and most importantly, they are comfortable as any sweatpants I've ever worn. I had them on at West 6 this week as I was tailgating with the Browns faithful this week. It was a blast. Got a lot of compliments on them. You can get your own pair at birddogs.com.
You know, last week we talked a little bit about, is anybody that good in the AFC North? And the AFC North is, in a way, similar to the rest of the league, where all 4 teams are kind of in towards the middle.
They can be good or they could be bad.
Right. But unlike any other division in football, everybody in the AFC North is 500 or better. It's the only division where there's no bad team. Even the Steelers, as much as we hate them, certainly at 3-2, are not bad. The Bengals, who have been inconsistent, all 4 teams have been inconsistent.
What's the NFC East? It's got the Giants is the only horrible team, but the other 3 are pretty. The Commanders are 500, and then the Cowboys and the Eagles.
There's a lot of teams near the middle, but you look at yesterday. Baltimore won against Tennessee, and I don't know how much you guys saw that in England.
I didn't see it.
I watched that game. I wasn't overly impressed by Baltimore. I thought Tennessee made some head-scratching decisions in that game.
What was the final? 24-16?
Yeah, but they put it away late.
Tannehill got hurt, didn't he?
And
Malik Willis is abysmal. Oh my
so is Tannehill. He stinks too.
Oh my goodness.
They made some bad decisions. That Derrick Henry was killing the Ravens, and they didn't. I thought they should have given it to him more. But anyway, the Bengals-Seahawks game. I don't know if anybody saw that one.
Yeah.
Totally weird game. So the Seahawks get the ball first, march right down the field. One of the best drives I've ever. There wasn't even any third downs. March right down the field, scored a touchdown. Then the Bengals get it. They march right down the field and score a touchdown. We're 7-7. All right? Bengals then stop the Seahawks on the second drive. Bengals' second drive, march right down the field again. So it's 14-7.
And that was about it.
And neither team could move the ball the rest of the way.
Yep.
It was almost halftime. Those were long drives, those 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
The 2 by the Bengals and 1 by Seattle. It was a lot of clock. And then both teams' defenses played great. The Bengals' defense in the red zone, which they haven't
That's
been very
where they
good.
won the game.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The Seahawks could not get in the end zone after that first drive. They kept stopping them. But
they stopped them on the last drive of the game.
Right.
It would have been a go-ahead touchdown.
Yeah, got a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson. And it was a weird game because the Bengals' offense in the first half was fantastic. And the second half, they had a couple of bad drops on third down. It was a weird game, but like everybody else in the North, there's
Up
good
and down.
moments, bad
Up
moments.
and down.
It's
Yeah.
good. Listen, this AFC North is going to come down to last week of the season. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
And we are at Cincinnati.
That's right.
Yep.
That game could be for the division title.
and
It very
that-
well could.
And you know what? The loser might be on the out looking in.
That's certainly
with,
possible.
with the way everything else in the AFC is playing out.
yeah.
That is why the context of when I talk about must wins or whatever the case may be.
Check 'em while you can.
You got to look at the context. 75%, we just talked about it, of the teams got 3 wins right now.
That's nuts.
That's crazy. And on top of that, you got division pivotal games where you're on the road. You know, we got to go to Cincinnati. They are lights out. I've seen them put 50 on the Chiefs in the last few games at the end of the year. They play their best ball going towards the end of the schedule. You look at Lamar Jackson, if he's still healthy, they had a nice game plan against the Browns. So those games are going to be tough games. So when you get a guy and they're going to give you a couple points,
Take it.
Take them little
Take it.
Indianapolis wins, and it'd be nice not to have a knife fight in a phone booth to get into the playoffs the last game of the year. I want a nice holiday. Listen, I want to be December 25th looking around and be like, we need, if you carry the 1,
We could get a home game.
Square, right. Look, what? Are you serious? Give me one of them.
I like
It's very
those two.
hard to predict who's going to make the playoffs, right?
Mikey just told me we have 24 super chats, so that's going to take
Wow.
a long time.
That's
I don't want
crazy.
you to have to go
we
through
got
them
some good
auction
ones,
style.
and some that I do think is going to elicit a little discussion. So let's
Okay,
get to
go
those
ahead.
real quick. And whenever we bring you guys super chats, and we appreciate them, it comes from PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Airfoils is the leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. Some of these super chats are just strictly comments. Some are questions, so we're going to give a little extra time, get to them all. The first 2 come from Alonhay. And it's really just one. He said it twice. Brock Turdy with 6 poop emojis. So
Get him out of here.
I'm not a fan of denigrating my opponents because when you denigrate your opponent, in a way you're stealing the thunder from what you did.
No, you're great. You're great. We just made you look bad.
I 100% agree with that. I think that Brock Purdy was a result of the Browns confusing him all day. I do think the weather had something to do. The one ball that slipped right out of his hand, he must have small
Everything
hands. I don't
factors
know.
in. The weather
But
and injuries played a role, but the
I'd
Browns
rather
defense-
say he sucked. And same with McCaffrey. I mean, look, McCaffrey's a great player.
Hey.
And they both struggled mightily. And I'm giving credit to the Browns
Right.
defense.
I'm not
for
going
that.
to denigrate the
If
other
you
team.
No.
went real hard, there was not much difference between Purdy and Joe Burrow. Ball slipping around, these guys are
Right.
trying to throw the
Bad
ball.
weather.
Hey,
Horrible
look at
weather?
it. Derrick Henry did nothing against the Browns. He's been great against everybody else. Jamar Chase did nothing against the Browns. He's been mostly great against everybody else. He's had like 300 yards
Christian
the last 2
McCaffrey.
weeks.
Purdy is killing
Everybody.
Purdy.
So no need to denigrate guys. They're
No.
great players. Brock.
You know what? I tip my cap to Lamar Jackson. I mean,
Yeah.
he made this defense look human. He's the only guy that's made this defense look
I
human.
bet you he doesn't the second game.
We hope.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I trust that Jim Schwartz is going to figure out exactly what it was they were doing that led to their success. Part of it's just the threat of this guy running at any point in time. That changes the game, man.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
right,
that's their
next one.
kryptonite, running quarterbacks.
next one comes from Skilly. Skilly says, desperately needed that win yesterday. Let's go Brownies. I got a video yesterday morning of 10-foot waves crashing over the bow of my boat, sinking it in the marina, so that win saved my day.
Wow. Listen, I had to get my boat out of the water this weekend. And I was talking to I was talking to our weather staff all day Friday about the perfect window. It was at 6 to 12 foot waves were projected, which is gale force. And that is no joke in Lake Erie because it's the shallowest of the Great Lakes. So, Skilly, I'm sorry to hear about that. You actually lost your boat. It's sunk, gone. That's
G,
wow.
you and I are not afraid of these things. We keep our boats in the water no matter what.
Yeah, listen. I keep.
I hope so.
My boat
Yeah.
stays ashore.
All the time. By the way, Skilly sent us a video.
That's the guy, isn't
Yeah.
it?
That is Skilly.
I haven't
Shout out
seen
to
it yet, but
Skilly.
I want to watch it.
Shout out to my man.
That's cool.
Hey, you know, see, that's the difference between black people and white people.
Yeah.
Black people, if I lost my bike, I'm going crazy. Y'all lose a boat, be like, I lost my boat the other day. I'm going to get another
nuts.
one.
The Browns won, so who
What you
cares?
mean? The Browns won. What?
Skilly's an OG.
I'll name my next vote
What?
the Schwartz effect.
Where do you work at, Skilly? Like,
G, you'll like this next super chat from Preston Herring. He said, I was a little dehydrated Sunday, had to go to the ER to get an IV. The doctor came back with a bag full of Kool-Aid.
Drip, drip,
LFG,
drip.
it's Browns versus the world.
That's not dehydrated. That's G-hydrated. That's what that is.
Ray
You get
Smith
that Kool-Aid
says-
drip. That's called G-hydration.
slow pan. Slow.
Ray Smith says, I just want to say, gulp, 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 go Browns. I'm chugging the Kool-Aid. Graham Dog 6 says, I just want to say, gulp, gulp.
That's it.
G,
That's it.
I'm just asking, if you started the... I don't even know how to say this without saying...
Yeah.
I'm just going to move on. We're just going to move on.
Yeah, move on.
That never happened.
Armac Dog says, G. Bush is the people's champ. Thanks for representing.
He is the people's champ now.
Rated
I
R
agree.
says, I think he meant DeJuan Jones. He sent DeJuan, like DeJuan Blair. I think he meant DeJuan. DeJuan Jones neutralized the reigning defensive player of the year. Besides that one sack, Bosa did nothing. He had 3 tackles for loss. I would say nothing's a little over-exaggeration.
He had a good
but
game, but by both
nice game.
standards, it wasn't good enough.
He did not destroy the game plan, which is, I think,
No.
a win in any capacity. Alex Garadis, with his first super chat ever, says, love the show, guys. I watch every day from Florida. Jed Wills is terrible, wearing a balaclava? Baklava? No, that's not baklava.
It's not baklava, and it's not.
No,
it's,
baklava's a dessert. Baklava's a dessert, Anthony. Wearing
It's a balaclava. That's it.
wearing that in 50-degree weather as an offensive lineman is crazy.
Yeah, I
Whatever,
thought
we got
that
the
too.
dub, go
Lame.
Browns.
Come on, it's not that cold.
Let's go, Shrek. Pull it together.
Justin McKay says, love the show from Montana. Shout out to people
Big
all
Sky
over the country,
country.
all
Great
over
Falls,
the world
baby.
for watching. G. Bush blaming Jed Wills for the downfield penalty is just wrong. That was on the quarterback for double clutching. And bad
No, that was
play.
on
No,
Jed Wills.
that's not true.
Totally on Jed.
That was on Jed Wills.
He didn't wait 2 seconds. He was like,
You got to have a mental clock in your head. You know what the play is. You know
know.
you can't come off the line.
On most plays, he stands there and does nothing. On that play, he's got to move.
he was excited. He was excited.
He did play a decent game, though. Yes.
Yeah, we can't
Seems
kill
like
him.
It.
Yeah.
Seems like it.
Until this film ain't
PFF graded him out of
Yeah.
99, so
What?
We'll get to those tomorrow.
now you know it's coming.
Next up's from Devoid Archangel. Turnovers don't matter when you don't let teams get first downs. That's in response to us saying the one
That is
knock.
a fact.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It is
The
true.
Browns aren't on the field that much defensively.
No, you know what? The Browns defense held San Francisco's offense to 25% on third down.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
win the third down rate, and
Yeah.
it can take away the fact that you're not
Right.
getting turnovers because you're constantly, that's
right.
12 times they had to punt.
That
Yeah,
is a
that's
battle
true.
rap bar right there. I never thought turnovers don't matter if you ain't getting first down.
Oh, they matter offensively.
They still matter.
You can't be putting your defense in bad
No,
situations.
no, no.
Right.
No, but
No,
just,
no, I
And,
know,
and
but like-
on the
they do
flip side,
matter
offensively,
like-
you hand your offense a short field on a
Right.
turnover.
Right.
And we just have
Right.
to start doing it. There's
By
no
the
question.
way, what percentage of super chats, Mike, do you think it takes you a minute to stumble through the name?
Most. And the next one you're going to laugh at in a sec. But real quick, a stat on the first downs. This from Dan Murphy. Shout out Dan Murphy, one of the PR guys for the Browns. So far this season, they've allowed 29 fewer than any other team
That's
in football.
stunning.
And
Part
the
of that-
Cowboys play tonight. And granted, they have only played 5
Yes.
games. Some teams have played 6.
Yeah, but so have the Cowboys now.
But regardless, yeah, exactly. The
Cowboys have played 5
It's
games.
still an incredible number, but you do have to have the context of the Browns have played
those
one fewer game than a lot
stats
of
like
teams.
that should
Yeah,
always.
but they
I know, but it's still great. Stats like that should always be per game until every.
yes, I agree.
Right,
I
yeah.
agree.
All
They'd
right,
still be
next
the
one.
best.
You're not going to laugh at this, and you're going to laugh at the next one. This first one comes from James Cosby. I wanted to see if the Browns were tough enough. Questions answered. Let's keep going. Next one's from Load Toad 216. 2 personal fouls on the first drive. We gave them 30 yards. That's a fact from the Load Toad.
Yep.
Halim Youssef said these buried draft picks are looking pretty good now. We got to give him his flowers. JOK, Newsome, Emerson, all playing at a Pro Bowl level.
You want me
Even
to name
Jordan
his wide
Elliott
receiver draft
and
picks?
Big Thanatos are playing. Big Thanos.
Two of those
excuse me,
three guys
are
we were
playing
already
well.
giving credit to.
Yeah,
So,
and you look, he has hit on some defensive players, but who's the wide receiver he's hit on?
that's an end of the season conversation. He's had a lot of fails.
Even to this point.
Yeah, he's
like
had
just
a
to
lot
this
of
point.
fails.
We've got enough hay in the barn. Anthony
Yeah.
Schwartz was a pig. We knew that. I mean,
Jeez.
I'm sorry. I'm going to call it the way I see
That's
it.
an Adam the Bull special right there.
It was, and that's very uncharacteristic for me. But you know what? That's one of the worst draft picks I've ever
How
seen.
much mimosa did you drink?
That's the champagne talking.
Listen,
No, I mean,
Barry's
come
a
on.
mixed
You know what it is.
Yeah, I know,
Barry is
I
a
know.
mixed bag. There's no doubt.
Yeah, let's
Right.
get to the end of the
Let's not
season.
get carried away on it.
But
He
you know
still
what?
has like 17 to go.
Give me
Yeah.
another mimosa, and I might say the same thing about DPJ.
But that was a 6th round.
I
pick.
know.
We're down
I
to
know.
7 minutes, and he's got a
Go
ton of
ahead,
super
Mike.
Where's
chats.
Cedric Tillman?
Peter R. says, I wish I recorded my living room when Moody missed that kick because all 7 people were celebrating just like G. Bush. We had people praying praying the rosary, and the prayer beads went flying when they won. Shout out to you. That sounds like a hell of a celebration. Louisa 23. Oh, yeah. I get my bad. My bad.
Yeah.
Fair fact, my bad. Louisa 23 said, I drove from Connecticut to Cleveland. Well worth it. Great game.
Wow. That's a
Daryl,
fan.
our guy Daryl said, great win, Stefanski. Thank you, Jim Schwartz, for saving your job because you screwed it. Big Thanos is the real deal. Shout out Bill Callahan for missing Batonio and lighting a fire under Jed Wills. Bolster was a non-factor. Love you guys. Daryl?
Do we have a second?
Yeah.
I have a question. I was listening to the postgame show because I had an appointment and I had to drive right after the game was over. I was listening to the postgame show on the radio, and a fan called in and said he was disappointed in A, how many fans left early, and B, how many 49ers fans there seemed to be.
There were a lot of 49ers fans.
Yeah, and then somebody else had said something about that later.
I didn't
Place
notice.
is rocking though.
Yeah, I didn't notice fans leaving early, but I wasn't really taking
Okay.
attendance. But there, in the close where he missed the kick, there were a lot of 49ers fans in that end zone. So many that on the first kickoff, the Niners kickoff after their touchdown, the special teams ran all the way to the end zone to salute the fans. There were so many of them.
Wow.
They made a point to run all the way
Yeah.
through the end zone and
Like,
By the
wow.
way, did you guys notice that before Moody kicked that last ball, that Shanahan was shaking hands with his other coaches?
I did see
No.
that. Almost like a congratulatory.
Yes, that's
like
what it
they were
seemed
like,
like.
yeah, good job, good job. I saw the same thing, Bull.
Kind of like,
And I thought,
we got
wow,
out of here with this one.
they've got this one in the bag.
Yeah, they thought it was
Because
over.
they were
We
kind of
did too.
congratulating
We all
themselves
did too.
on the drive.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you got the sense that he was like, "Whew, we
Well,
did it.
Jay,
We
not
did
just
it."
that. Not just that. They got to the 26-yard line with 50 seconds left and a timeout and did not try to advance the ball. They didn't
No,
run.
I
They
know
let the
it.
clock
Right.
run down.
I know.
They spiked it and hiked the field goal snap on 3rd down. They got to exactly the spot Jake Moody said, this is where I want to be at. And he still shanked.
And if you believe the weather stuff, they needed 3 more yards. He would have made it. The wind and whatever pushed it 3 yards.
Good thing they didn't have those analytics.
So from 38, he would have made it.
I want to know the Tecmo Bowl
Yeah.
graphic. Like, where does that come from?
I don't know.
And listen,
And
let me find that. You better not. I'm
maybe
stealing that
it's
too.
somebody just making crap up.
It might
I don't
be
know.
something that you can only determine after the kick is made.
Well,
Because
I don't know.
if you had that information
this
before,
sounds
you
like-
aim at the left upright and you're good.
This sounds like an Anthony Lima making up the attendance of the parade.
And maybe it is. I don't know. I'm
Hey,
just telling you.
I'm just like
That
y'all
is
know.
the greatest thing of all time in Cleveland.
Yeah, I know.
What happened?
There was for the Cavs parade.
Yeah.
There was I can't remember the exact number now this day.
1.4 million.
There was a report from the Greater Cleveland Sports whatever
Yeah, commission.
of 1.4 million. That number was completely made up by Anthony
Completely.
Lima on the air. He completely made it up, credited somebody, and everybody ran with it.
Everybody.
He
No.
made that number up
To this day, you will
Yeah.
see 1 point. It says
Why did he make it up?
just to see if
'Cause
people
it
would
was
run
funny.
with it.
That's
and
fine.
it
I got a
worked.
couple more. I got to
He's
read
the
real
best.
quick.
Go ahead.
That is very funny, though, and it is amazing what you can get away with. Charles T. said, Stefanski schemed open more 3 straight plays, Coop a couple as well. Are we as Cleveland fans finally going to give him credit? The
No.
QB has to hit those. He is
We
giving
will.
them layups. I think we gave Stefanski the proper kudos
gave him
today.
Yeah, you
Credit?
got it today.
Right,
think
but
we did.
you're going to crap on him next time they lose.
No,
If it's his fault, we will.
No,
Yeah,
you crap on him every time he loses.
If he does
can't-
not run the football, I'm definitely going to say
And
something.
I can't get over the 2-23 number either.
It's a bad number.
It's bad. number.
Next from JF says, the defense is so good, it's a shame they do not have a gelling offense right now. They need to add a serious wide receiver and some depth to the O-line. Thoughts? Tomorrow, I have 6 hypothetical trades for the Browns to make the rest of the season more fun.
Love
So we'll
that.
get to that. We'll save that for then.
Good
I
tease.
also have a graph that's going to tell you the realistic and the fun meter, so you guys know which ones are more plausible than
And you
others.
got to find that Tecmo Bowl screen, McNuggets.
I'll see if Anthony can come up with some Techno Bowl trades. Donnie Stewart says, I'm in Kansas City. I got my Browns hoodie on. Everywhere I go this morning, I've gotten a compliment from Chiefs fans on our win. Shout out to Kansas City fans. Right, we know Darren in Kansas City fans, very classy. DB Dogs 21 said every game should be played like it's a must-win. You should play every game with a type of urgency we saw against San Francisco on Sunday. And last but not least, Pepe Silva said the Browns with Watson are averaging 367 yards per game. That'd be 8th in the NFL.
Huh.
I got to check that. I'm not positive or not.
That can't be true.
I can't imagine that is true, but if it is, it speaks to these rising defenses. If that's a low number. And if it's
that
eighth
is,
best,
that is low, yeah.
I don't know that that's true. We have to look into that for tomorrow. But the defenses are definitely stepping up.
Yeah, they are.
More franchises are spending draft capital on that side of the
bottom
football.
line is Watson's got to play closer to the guy in tennis. Like, listen, the Browns are good enough that they could win without Watson being Houston Watson, but he's got to be closer to that.
Yeah, I agree.
Than the guy we've seen most of the time. But his last game he was good.
Can we
We'll
call
see what he
good
looks like when
Watson
he's
now
healthy.
Tennessee Watson
Okay, let's do it.
instead of Houston Watson? Because that's so far away.
Browns can win a Super Bowl with Tennessee
That
Watson.
sounds.
They
That
can.
sounds
I
like
think you're right.
Tennessee Watson.
Tennessee Watson sounds like a private detective. In
No,
like
it sounds like some sort of a musician.
Yeah, jazz
Tennessee
musician
whiskey
from the
song.
60s.
Yeah, Tennessee
Or the
Watson.
50s.
There's the Tennessee whiskey song.
Yeah.
You make it the Tennessee.
I like
Watson
that song,
That's
by
a
the
great
way.
song.
That's a great,
I need
great
Billy Joel
song.
to write a song called Tennessee.
By the way, speaking of the guy that sings that,
Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton, who's I'm not a big country guy, but that guy makes
he's
great
phenomenal.
music. His Monday Night Football Open with Snoop. Who's with him? It's the new
No
Monday
idea.
Night Football Open. It's Stapleton, I think, and Snoop.
They've stolen.
It is the best Monday Night Football
Oh,
Open
really?
ever.
I don't know. I've seen
And
it.
by the way, speaking of ever, I think this is the most viewed UCSS show
it's gonna
ever.
be.
It went over 4,000. I was checking it.
We
McNuggets.
did. Also, real quick, mental math. I think that's right.
That speaks to the
Yeah.
I
defenses. They're
think that's
stepping up.
actually right. Yeah, and it would
Yeah,
rank
And
eighth.
if you think about it, Mahomes hasn't been Mahomes. Allen has had games where you're like, what happened to this guy?
Yeah.
Maybe we're
Take the
out of the era
Cowboys
of
tonight.
quarterbacks, and maybe we're going into the era
So, you
of
know,
great